Summon Sign is brought to you by you. If you want to learn how to support our show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Hello everyone, welcome to episode 89 of Summon Sign, Last Stand Media's weekly in-depth game discussion podcast. I'm your host, as always, Brad Ellis, and joining me, I have the lovely Rick Hoeg. That's right, Rick. I said lovely. A fine gentleman. Rick, how are you today?
I don't get lovely a lot, so I'm appreciative of the new adjective to describe me. I'm happy to be here. We can answer all legal and political-based questions now.
Yes.
That's what we're podcasting right now, right?
Yes. Oh,
it's
yes,
all politics, all law.
We got some writings that could be classified as legal standings. We'll see. Speaking of legal, Hoeg, I just dodged jury duty.
Oh, yeah?
Yesterday I had to call in I was on call for 2 weeks. Didn't get called in, thank God. I got called in last time, Hoeg, in 2021.
Yeah.
And the case I was on lasted a month. So that was fun.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was like one of the first, I think, cases that a jury was back on after COVID and stuff like that in that year. So they said it was a big deal, but they could have just been, gassing us up or something like that. I have no idea.
Just trying to make you feel good about your community service. Yeah.
Yes. But it was funny. At the time, Hoeg, I reviewed Lost Judgment as well. So I was in big time courtroom lawyer mode. So it was very strange.
I do love the Judgment series.
Yeah, Judgment. Sadly, I think it's over, Hoeg.
Oh, yeah?
I think there's not going to be any more. I read something about that, because of the actor and all that kind of stuff and working out contracts, I think. And I don't know, because I do like those games a lot, too. They're very fun. So hopefully we get some more, but RGG always doing good work, so we'll see. What is it? What's that game? It's Project Sentry, but I forgot its real name now.
Yeah, that's how I remember it too. Isn't it something like Fall from Heaven or something?
Yeah, something crazy like that, which is a delightful name. So I'm very happy about that. But yes, we'll get more RGG goodness in the future. But yes, before we get into everything, audience, please check us out on patreon.com/laststandmedia. If you would like to support us, we greatly appreciate it. We cannot do it without you. With all the fine folks over there that do support us, I appreciate it. You can get early ad-free access to the show. Forgot if I just said that. I'm just kind of tired right now. I'm waking up still. I got water. I'm going to chug it in a few minutes. I'll be good to go, though, after that. If you want some merch, go to laststandmedia.store. You can get merch sent over to you personally by Micah Moriarty herself. They do it all in their household. She will send it to you personally, so you get a little personal touch here, which is very nice. Also, during the episode, at some point, Gene will join us. We are not exactly sure. Well, hopefully he joins us, but he will join us at some point. We'll take a break and we'll get into there when he's here. So fear not. I know a lot of people want to hear him talk about Silksong.
I just presume he's too addicted to Silksong, and
maybe he played all night and just forgot.
Yeah, he's not otherwise available.
Yes, but Hoeg.
Yeah,
you know my history with Easy Allies and bets and all that kind of stuff like that. It's carried over into LSM a little bit. And Colin had to fulfill a bet. He lost. Him and Dustin lost. Dustin had to play 4 hours of Overwatch, which he completed. Colin had to play 4 hours of Kingdom Hearts, which he did not complete by the date. So, first of all, we got to get this out there, Hoeg. The man is a coward and not a man of his word. What do you think about that, Hoeg? Not being able to play Kingdom Hearts for 4 hours in about a month and a half.
Well, I'm not prepared to call Colin a coward, but it does seem like if you're going to enter into a bet, you have to meet the conditions that bet puts forth. That's how contract law works. That's my bailiwick. That's my line of business. So it's very important, if you're going to enter into a contractual relationship of some kind, that you meet your obligations under that contract, or else who is going to want to contract with you in the future?
Exactly. He's not a man of his word, so we can't trust him. And I'll never forget. But he's trying to do damage control right now, I think, and stream some of it. But I don't know how much more he's going to play, if he's going to do more streams. Because, Hoeg, I put this in our Discord. I'm going to just read it for everybody what I wrote. Because I was informed that he failed to complete his bet. which is unacceptable. I wrote, it has come to my attention that Colin failed to complete his punishment of playing 4 hours of Kingdom Hearts. Therefore, he will forever be known as a coward and not a man of his word. To remedy this transgression, he will now have to do a full playthrough of the game. And I said, that's my idea for his punishment. And I said, I'm open to ideas, though, from the council. And I wrote, he must suffer for this. Now, that was my pitch about what he needs to do to cleanse himself of his sins, I should say, to play the whole game. Now, he did not commit to any of that. I'm not sure. I think he's trying to wiggle his way out of things. I'm not exactly sure, but I'll never forget. But the listeners are never going to forget either. We got 3 write-ins here. First one is from Logan from Memory Card. Chief Justice Brad, it may or may not have come to your attention that the defendant, who will be referred to as Colin, broke the contract of punishment and, in fact, did not finish his 4 hours of community service of playing Kingdom Hearts. We, the people of Last Stand Patreon, have been victimized by this act. What is your ruling on these matters? What consequences come for Colin? Hoeg, what say you as a lawyer? Okay, we'll get into all this. Hold on. Next, we got CJ. Brad, I have an important question. What will Colin's punishment be for failing to fulfill his 4 hours of Kingdom Hearts? Personally, I think he should start the next Sacred Bets with negative points, -1 point for each minute he still has left to complete. This should apply to every show going forward until he fulfills his obligations. Gene. Oh, Gene's not here yet, but we'll just skip that part. Oh, this is a joke. Gene, does this call into question everything Colin has ever done? So that is because of Leslie Benzie, I think is his name, from the Rockstar producer that did Mind's Eye, and Gene said that about him, which is very funny. And CJ said also, hey, Hoeg. Okay, bye, guys.
That's fair.
Well, fear not. We'll get plenty of legal analysis from Hoeg. And this is from, I like your Chris. I do not like your Chris Chans. Good day, gentlemen. Sorted out Colin for disrespecting the sanctity of bets. Even if he's followed through with it by the time Summon Sign is recorded this week, the damage is done. Colin needs to face a penalty for missing the bet deadline and for making the community fight him to finish this time. I suggest having him do every show he appears on for a week in clown makeup. What say you guys? So I have several ideas about the punishment. One, of course, was to finish the entire game. I'd give him the year to finish the game. And if he couldn't do that, then that's just absolutely pathetic. It's a kid's game. Second would be he has to wear a shirt that says, like, I'm a Disney adult or something like that. Or I love furries or something to make Colin uncomfortable like that. People have suggested making him play like 3 games and earning 1 trophy for each game. Because I guess that just drives him crazy if he has like 1 trophy for a game and that's it. It just ruins his profile. I don't know. The guy's a madman, but that's how his brain works. Hoeg, man, what do you think about this whole situation? What should Colin's punishment be? Should we never let this man live it down?
Well, you know, what I'm amused by as part of this whole conversation is that I love the legalese and the legal questions that people are raising on these kinds of things. I have said, I think on a Constellation, but maybe somewhere else in this universe of commentary, that one of the reasons I love American football is that it is the most litigious of the sports, that there's all these penalties to argue about and all these different tiny rules to kind of dig into, much like the profession of law as it is. So I love getting into these betting special things. However, I have to say, I would love it if you had some kind of contract attorney, doesn't have to be me, go over some of these provisions before these things happen. Because the questions that are posed to me, what should the penalty be? What can we do? Are we harmed as Patreon members? That kind of thing are all best answered in the contract beforehand, right? When we draft a contract in real life law, when we write a promissory note, whatever else we do, one of the things we put out there in the sections of these contracts is what happens if something goes wrong. So if you welch on your debt, this is what happens to the interest rate. If you breach this contract, this is what we can sue you for. This is what we can't sue you for, that kind of thing. And so the best answer to this question is it should have been written, what happens on a breach? If I don't meet these conditions, what happens, so that everybody could agree before it happens. Because after the fact, you get into bigger battles, you get into more emotionality, it becomes a bigger deal. That said, as I talked to you about before we started the show today, I have some history going over betting specials. I have a video on my channel right now, which is one of my only scripted videos in which I analyzed Mr. Kyle Bossman and Mr. Michael Huber making some very interesting choices about how they interpreted bets in the Easy Allies days, maybe a half decade ago or so.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of used to dancing around these things in the video game commentary community. That said, I think anything that stays along the lines of the original penalty, like extending it for another 4 hours or maybe even making him finish the game, those are within the realm of reason. Those would be things that would be enforceable if you were to actually try to take this to a court of law. And you wouldn't, because there's a whole questions of consideration and contracts and things like that. But I would recommend sticking with some version of what was originally agreed to. I think you can extend that pretty far, maybe a full game, maybe every Kingdom Hearts game. I don't know. But from the legal perspective, you'd be trying to stick within what a reasonable person would expect would be the punishment for breaching this particular contract promise.
Yeah. And like, let's be real, Hoeg. You know, these bets, these punishments are way more chill than they were at Easy Allies. Way more. I made Bloodworth.
I don't disagree.
Stream all of Dark Souls 2 in cosplay. The entire Dark Souls 2 game. He has streamed all of it in a cosplay as Laddersmith Gilligan. No big deal. I made Huber wear baseball Giants gear. He's a huge Dodgers fan. They're rivals. I made him wear the gear for a month on every video he was on. So they're getting off easy here. 4 hours of playing Kingdom Hearts. Come on, man.
A game a lot of people enjoy.
Yeah. Couldn't even do it, and he gets to stream it, hang out with Dustin, force Dustin to be there. Ridiculous. Ridiculous.
No, the only other thing I would add is there was a question posed by one of the commenters about whether or not the Patreon members would have a cause of action, would have a claim here.
No.
Unless I say so. That comes into a legal concept of the third-party beneficiary. And in most contexts, a third party cannot otherwise bring a claim for breach of contract. There are other contexts in which they can, but the way to think about this is that the folks involved in this bet made a bet and had a punishment, and if you happen to like that punishment, you happen to like that Colin would be forced to play Kingdom Hearts and you'd be able to watch it, that's essentially an accident, right? That's an accident that is something that you might enjoy, and the fact that you aren't getting it is not directly damaging you under the law. I know that doesn't sound fair, and maybe it's not. The law doesn't always care about fair. But that's really what you'd be arguing against, is that the bet implied that third-party beneficiaries could bring a claim against it. So that's your kind of high-end real law section of this episode. But I promise not to bring too much of that in the future.
All right, we're back. Sorry about that. We got Gene here. Yay, we're all complete now.
All right.
Yes, sir. We got to get those Silksong impressions from Gene, so it's good he's here. Gene, me and Hoeg were talking about this briefly, though. Colin, as you know, did not fill his end of the bargain on his punishment for playing Kingdom Hearts for 4 hours. He had like a month and a half to do it, couldn't do it, so officially labeled as not a man of his word and a coward. Now, Gene, I wrote this and I said that his punishment should be to finish the rest of the game. He has to do it. Do you have any ideas or thoughts about Colin not managing to finish Kingdom Hearts? 4 hours of playing the game.
Yeah, I guess I lost track about what he was supposed to do. I know he streamed it, but it didn't meet those 4 hours, right?
Nope.
He just streamed for 3 hours or something.
Yeah, like 2 hours or something like that. Yeah,
2 hours. Yeah. And he's supposed to do it soon again, or I don't know.
He had until September 1st.
Oh, he should finish the game. He's got to finish the game.
That's what I said. But I'm afraid he's going to try to weasel his way out of this. But he's my boss, so there's only so much I can make him do. So
and hey, I'm speaking as someone who's never finished Kingdom Hearts 1 either. So, Yeah.
You can do it. It's not that long of a game. It's like 20 hours.
You just have to listen to Simple and Clean on repeat.
That's right.
For another 4 hours.
That's right.
Hey, it was at his wedding. I was there. So
Yeah.
We were there, Rick. That's where I met you.
I remember.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do it. It's finally time. Hollow Knight Silksong is out. Hold on. I wrote that in the wrong thing. And Gene, I need to share the rundown with you. I just realized.
Oh, yeah. Well, my apologies, gentlemen, for being late. I was up all night playing all these games that we're going to talk about today.
Yes, sir.
in particular Silksong, and I took a nap and lost track of time, and here I am now. So thank you so much for your patience, and
yeah.
Apologies to the audience for missing those early great questions as well. So
yeah. But we're here. People are dying to know, Gene, your impressions of Silksong, because you had quite the turnaround from Hollow Knight recently. Mm-hmm. You were not really a fan of it before for years, but you recently, very recently, just went through it all, and you love it. It's one of your favorite games of the year, you said you've played.
Mm-hmm.
But now Silksong, the long-fabled sequel, is finally out. You didn't have to wait very long, which is very funny. Mm-hmm. But people like me have been waiting for a while, but it's finally here. Gene, you've been playing a lot of Silksong. I've been playing a lot of Silksong as well. I think I've played 13 hours, maybe 13 or 14, something like that. Not as much. I didn't get to play at all yesterday, sadly. But it's a game, Gene, I've been thinking about a lot when I'm not playing it. I'm always just like, man, I wish I was playing Silksong right now.
Yeah. A date canceled on me last night.
And, I saw that. That's very funny.
And I was like, yes.
Yes. Man, that's so funny, dude. Dude, I get it. That's gamer behavior.
Yeah, for sure.
Hanging out with friends, going on dates? Nah, dude. New Silksong just dropped.
The new game came out, man.
Yeah. That's the way it goes. Dude, I remember World of Warcraft days when that game came out. You want to hang out? Nah, man. Playing WoW. Sorry. That's just the way it goes sometimes. But Gene, all right, dude. First impressions of Silksong. What do you think so far?
Wow. I can't, I can't be more impressed. What an incredible game. I'm really, really trying to hold back hyperbole. One, because it might feel disingenuous since I'm still a new fan of the series, right? Hollow Knight and Silksong. And two, I'll never live down the recency bias accusations, because every good new game I seem to play just seems to be my new shiny thing. And Silksong is indeed my new shiny thing. I am obsessed with this game in a way that I can only describe. And again, I'm not calling Silksong a Souls-like, but my obsession with the game is very Souls-like.
No, I get that.
I am constantly, when you play Elden Ring or even Dark Souls or Dark Souls 3, and you're just like, no, but like, what if I tried this though, or what if I went here though, when you're not playing it, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I just got this thing though, and then now I can do all this, right?
Isn't that the best feeling, man? When you're like not playing the game and you're just so into it, you're just like thinking about it constantly all the time, thinking about possibilities. I love that.
That's to me is like, yeah, easily like when I know that a game is really, really special. When I'm just like constantly like planning to it, like I'm planning for it like it's real life,
Yeah.
Because I'm that immersed into the experience. So I'm you said you're 13 hours. I am actually let me check my Steam numbers right here. It's 25 hours.
Oh, damn.
Into Silksong. But I think 4 of those hours are about I started over. I actually started I had a new save, and then I got super lost, and I was like, I got so lost that I felt like I needed to do the game again, and like kind of like redo my steps to kind of like get the groove back. Sure. So I just deleted the whole save and I started over again, and I just got back to where I was faster. But so I think I'm now like 21 hours into the game. This game is massive. It's so long.
Yeah, it's a big game.
It's a huge game. Oh my goodness. It really does feel like Elden Ring in terms of like, wow, they really like packed so much stuff in here, I can now easily more believe, wow, this would take 6 or 7 years to perfect, maybe,
Yeah.
Maybe there's some things that they put too much of, and we can talk about that later when we go into specifics. But I love it. I think it's interesting because it's such a contrast to Hollow Knight, because I pointed out in my review that you can check out last week on Someone's Sign or on the Washington Post. That Hollow Knight is kind of purposeless at the start, you don't really get a goal, you just kind of, here's your knight and here's the town that's hollow, go figure it out, and for hours you don't really have any kind of motivating goal. There's no character motivation, there's no inciting incident or anything,
right.
Silksong is completely different, you know. Silksong, Miss Silksong, John Silksong, Hornet is captured by mysterious people, and she escapes. And then now she's in the kingdom, and then she states to herself, "I'm going to figure out why I'm here," you know.
Yeah.
I need to go there. You know, I don't know how much spoilers we want to talk about, and I think people are, you know, Hollow Knight fans.
Yeah, we'll keep it light because I mean, people are still playing through the game a lot right now.
Yeah. But this is just the intro, anyways. But it's like, oh yeah, you have a goal to get to, you know.
Yeah.
And you know where to go. You know which direction to go, which is up, right?
Yep.
Where Hollow Knight was, you got to go down. You got to dig down, right? So, you know, there's really like a lot of contrast in there. You know, Hollow Knight goes down, Silksong goes up. Hollow Knight doesn't have a motivation. Silksong does. There's a lot of NPCs in Silksong.
A lot, yeah.
A ton of NPCs. Hollow Knight was a relatively dead world, whereas the world of Farloom is considerably more populated and busier. You know, and we can talk about specifics if you want later, but yeah, I'm finding a lot of power. Oh man, dude.
Yeah.
The way you just find powers, like I found like a power, and I won't spoil it because it's a later game spoil the power, but I was hoping for a power like this the whole game, and then I got it, and I was like, is Silksong my favorite video game of all time? Like, I start asking questions like that to myself, right? I'm just like, am I playing like one of my favorite games of all time as I speak, as I play, you know? Because everything about it is just so perfect, except like maybe like one thing that I might point out. But I'm interested to hear what you think, Brad, because you 13 hours is a lot. That's a big chunk of the game too. So.
Yeah. No, never mind. I won't say that. But yeah, so it's been interesting for me, Gene, because I haven't played Hollow Knight since 2018, I think, like that. Or maybe I want to say maybe I came back for a little bit for DLC for maybe one of them. It's hard for me to say, but I mostly remember for 2018. I really enjoyed the game a lot back then. I thought it was really cool. I love Metroidvanias already, so it's kind of right up my alley, like a great Metroidvania. I personally like the way this game looks a lot. I know the art style is not for everybody, but I think it's cool. I like the idea of these little bug creatures he plays. I think it's fun. One thing I want to bring up, Gene, I thought it was cool that you touched on was Hornet herself is a very much more character with her own motivations. Even just the character speaking and stuff like that is like a drastic contrast. Whatever you were in the first game, whatever. I don't know what they even call him. They call him the Knight or something like that. I don't even know what the hell his name is or anything, but he's just Hollow Knight, man. But it's cool. I actually really like Hornet. I like her personality a lot. And you kind of find out a little bit about her and stuff like that through some of the lore, which there is a lot in this game if you want to dive into it, which is great because a lot of that, the lore, the story, the quests, the NPCs, there's a ton if you want to do it. If you want to. You're not forced to do it, a lot of it, but if you dig deep, you'll find it there, which is really satisfying. Just quickly though, Gene, before we get into more details, I think the game's excellent so far. I think it's very good. I'm comparing it to like Symphony of the Night and stuff like that, which is like my favorite Metroidvania of all time. I'm not saying it's the best one or anything like that, but it's my personal probably favorite like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, yeah, they've nailed a lot of stuff. And I'm thinking about like the pacing and how good a lot of it is, the progression, your character progression and stuff like that. How every reward feels very impactful in my opinion so far. And I've like the abilities I've gotten, they've done a good job of like teasing some things, like showing you some things in the world where you can't, I'll say, access it right away. And I'm like, okay, well, there's got to be something later on to do this kind of thing like that. And the way that it comes at you is not in the pace I expect sometimes, which is fun because I never know what I'm going to get or when I'm going to get it, which makes it all the more satisfying discovering a lot of stuff. Super fun secrets. Dude, the gameplay feels so good. Your movement as Hornet feels incredible. So well done. One of the best feeling Metroidvanias I've played ever, I think, like that.
Absolutely.
The combat, the hit impact and all of that. The platforming, I think, is really fun, actually, this time around. I like platforming a lot in Metroidvanias. Like, I love the Guacamelee games because they really emphasize that a lot in those games. I forgot, you haven't played those, right, Gene?
Yeah, you recommended them to me, I think last week or on Punch and Up or whatever.
Guacamelee 2 in particular, Gene. Woo, what a game.
I'm gonna have
Love
to
that
check that
game.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Drinkbox, baby.
I
Great
like
games.
Drinkbox a lot.
Yeah, those games are awesome. Super fun. But yeah, in the world itself, Gene, I think the environments you go to, like, oh man, there's so much I want to say and that I have to be very careful about because I just don't want to even give a hint of spoilers and stuff like that. But just how the world is laid out and the kind of feelings and it's reminding me of stuff like that is so well done. I really like the music a lot too.
Dude, the music
Super
is so good,
immersive.
dude.
Yeah, super like just classy, man. That's what the music reminds me a lot of.
What do you both think of that downward forward slash? Because I think this might just be a Hoeg problem. Might just be a left hand thing.
Oh, you're playing it too.
But I find that I accidentally trigger that more often than I would like. Like it's very close to just forward and slash. So
her like dive attack kind of thing.
It changes your like movement completely.
So two things, Hoeg. One thing is I like that it's different because it separates her from Hollow Knight Man from the first game. But throughout the game, there are these, I don't know what the exact name of them, maybe you know, Gene, is like
crests.
The crests. They change your kind of moveset a little bit. I don't know if you've gotten any of them on Hoeg.
No.
I'll say this is a mild spoiler, so I'm going to give you like 2 seconds to hop out if you don't want to know this. A crest. But there is one that gives you like the moveset of Hollow Knight 1. So you can pogo, attack straight down and all that kind of stuff much easier. What I like about the crest system, there's kind of trade-offs and benefits for using each of them. Like one early on I think it's called the Reaper Crest, is if you heal, you do your heal activation and you start hitting guys, Silk will come out more frequently, which Silk you need to heal and kind of do your special attack that you had this in Hollow Knight 1 as well, but Hornet has their own versions. The one you start with is like, or you get very early on, is like a giant like javelin thrust, which is very fun. But Gene, what do you think about the crest system?
Yeah, well, first of all, that healing one is really, really good. That's another difference about Hornet and the way she plays is that Hollow Knight, we'll just call him Hollow Knight for the sake of it. We know he's not Metroid Man, but whatever.
Yeah.
The Knight, when he healed, you would have to hold down B and heal 1 pip at a time, right?
Yeah.
And you can only do that on the ground, and then later on you would get an upgrade that would help you move around and heal, right? Which is very, very helpful in Hollow Knight 1.
Mm-hmm.
In Silksong, she can heal in midair, and she will heal. She'll take up a whole Silk bar, right? But that will heal 3 pips completely.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because, so the crest gives you different movesets, but it also replaces the charm system from Hollow Knight 1.
Yes.
Whereas in Hollow Knight 1, you had the charm system where you would equip different charms, but then you can increase the number of notches that you can have. And each charm would count. Each charm was like, oh, this is a really powerful charm. This is like the long nail or whatever that increases your attack for the Hollow Knight, right? So this will take out 3 notches or whatever. I'm forgetting the exact number of notches, but sounds about right. 3 notches. 1 notch for the compass to walk around and see where you're at on the maps or whatever. That's completely gone in Silksong. Instead, what you got are crests, which are basically kind of like weapon types, honestly. Where you slot in these quote unquote tools, not so much charms. You have tools that can either buff you or you can use as separate new attacks. A little bit like Sekiro. Again, hate to make the comparisons, but because there's, I won't get into it, but there's different tools that she can use when you press up RB or down RB. There are different weapons that you can use against them, and you have, and that takes up shards, which is a new version of currency. Shards are basically what you use to make these tools and make the ammo for the tools.
Yep.
And now the actual currency for Silksong is rosaries, and that's what you need to buy maps, new items, new tools, maybe for your crests. Yeah. But yeah, finding these crests is very rare, and that they are basically a new moveset. And I have found 3 more. Considering how deep in the game, and that is probably my only criticism of the game, is that some of these crests aren't that great.
Sure.
And maybe they could have saved time just not using like one or two, like making one or two of them, you know.
Gotcha.
I do like the crest system replacing the charm system as a way to like create kind of limit your build, quote unquote build, you know. Hollow Knight was definitely a lot more freeform in that, like, here's like 9-10 notches and just do whatever the fuck you want with that, right?
Right.
Whereas with with Silksong, you have to unlock what's called memory lockets to unlock more slots on that crest too. So you're actually constantly working for more upgrades and the more ability to equip more abilities, you know.
Yeah.
But you're always limited. You know, the first crest, which is your default crest, has 6 slots total. So you are limited by 6 slots. The interesting thing, though, is that like Silksong herself, Hornet herself, will get different moves separately. That might have been a move for Hollow Knight in general, you know. So it's like they kind of readjust and remix a lot of the move set to kind of accommodate for this new equipment tool system. I forgot what was the original question. Let me answer Rick's question real quick about the dive kick. Really, really punishing to get that right.
Yeah.
So there is a new mechanic in Silksong where they actively encourage the pogo jumping a lot more. There was a lot of pogo jumping you needed to do in Hollow Knight as well, but this one it's like you need to do it all the time, right? Yep. And that means you gotta get the timing and the targeting and the positioning of the diagonal kick correctly. Sometimes you might overshoot. Then you have to adjust your left thumbstick to kind of like wiggle, kind of like left downwards diagonal, right? And I think that's where Hoeg, you were kind of talking about the difficulty of it, where it's like it's imprecise, it's hard to aim. Sometimes it doesn't really it pops off when it shouldn't. Sometimes I'm overshooting. So I started to use the D-pad for that too.
I always use the D-pad in Metroidvanias if I can.
Yeah, for a little bit more precision. Still getting it rough, but I'm actually reverted back to the diagonal kick just to kind of like train myself to further get used to it. And I'm doing pretty good now. I can actually just go whoop, 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 like zigzag back and forth. Even if I'm overshooting, I can just like, you know, turn around and do that real quick. But it took me hours to get that right. You know, I'm late game now, and it's only now that I'm starting to get that pretty well. But Brad, I forgot your original question.
Well, let me read this. Tara kind of touched on this, so we'll just get into it. Tara even wrote and said, "Good day, gamers. Google AI says this is a common casual greeting with the gaming community. Hee hee. How do you like the Chris system in Silksong? Are you switching up or picking a favorite and running with it? I think they did an excellent job of making Hornet's movement different and exciting. At first, I was praying for a moveset similar to the Hollow Knight from Hollow Knight because I was struggling a bit with pogo jumps. But once I got it, it felt so weird and wrong. I immediately abandoned it because I was already comfortable with the new stuff. Oh, and one more thing. Any chance for a Silksong spoiler cast? Spoiler cast wise, I'd be happy to do one as soon as we finish it. I don't know who else is playing or will finish it. I know me and Gene will probably finish it relatively soon.
I think me and Gene are the only ones playing it right now, actually. Yeah.
Oh, really? I know, Rick, you're playing a little bit of it, but I don't know how fast your pace is.
Yeah, no, it'll be very slow. One of the things I wanted to talk to Gene about is that I've bounced off Hollow Knight. I've tried it seemingly every couple of years and said, well, this seems fun enough. And then something else shiny pops into my view. It doesn't have enough driving you at the beginning, as Gene suggested. And so I say, all right, I'm going to come back to it later. Eventually that fades as you get more and more games into the backlog, right? And I try it every once in a while, say this seems very competent, but I've never been able to get to this is the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Sure.
I should be trading my firstborn for Silksong, that kind of thing. So I'm curious if I can do that with this new one. I have basically the same feeling that I did with Hollow Knight insofar as it seems good. I don't mind the graphics, Gene, but it does remind me of old Flash games. Like it just does.
It does.
So that's fine. I think they do a lot of good work with color and the thick outlines around the characters. But I once again find myself with a situation where I say I could be playing something that I am more invested in than this right now. And I do like Metroidvanias, but the last one that I really liked was The Lost Crown. and this hasn't gotten to that same place for me yet.
Oh, Prince of Persia. Okay. One thing with the crest system, Gene, I'm curious about what you think about this, is with the individual crests you put in, they have different colored slots. Like a lot of these trinkets you equip onto the crests are color based, like blue, red, yellow, or something like that. And you unlock new ones on there, but each crest kind of has a different color layout, I should say, a little bit. One thing I kind of like about it, Gene, is it kind of forces more of a play style depending on the crest. I guess we were talking about how you're saying kind of like a new weapon set, which I think is a cool addition. I really like that a lot. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I like that you said playstyle, because that's exactly how I'm saying it. That's how I describe it in my head. Versus builds that you can have in Hollow Knight. You know, Hollow Knight, it's like, oh, let me have this build, and I'll put in these charms, slot this, and
you're not like, I'm gonna go intelligence build, like focus on magic in this game and stuff
exactly,
like that.
Yeah. And like in Hollow Knight, you can be like, oh, I'm gonna focus on damage, or I'm gonna focus on defense, or whatever like that, right? Whereas in Silksong, you are stuck with styles, you know. It's interesting that the game has so many different like ways to rebalance its difficulty. And maybe we can talk about the difficulty here.
Oh, we can. I have a write-in whenever you want to talk about it.
Oh yeah, maybe we can start with the write-in.
Sure. I'll start with this. All right. This one is from Jack. This one is short and sweet, summoners. Silksong's difficulty. Is it too much beyond the point of being enjoyable at times? Is get good really the only solution here? Or should Team Cherry have included a difficulty option allow for an adjustment to at least the difficulty level of the original? There's hardly time to game as an adult, and spending it attempting to kill the damn bird things in Greymore for 45 minutes with no progress made at the end of the session is diminishing my enjoyment of the sequel somewhat. Does this resonate
birds
with
in
you
Greymore? Yeah, man.
All right. I'm going to hang up and they wrote dial tone.
Yeah.
All right. So difficulty, Gene, this is so funny. First of all, before you get into it, I see the same conversation as a From Software fan every single fucking time a new Souls thing comes out.
Every new game.
Everyone is bitching that the game's too hard or something like that. You remember Shadow of the Erd Tree came out? Everyone was freaking out about being too hard and stuff like that. And that lasts for like a couple weeks. Then it goes away and everyone's like, oh yeah, it's not that hard. Stuff like that. So here we are. We're in the cycle. We're in the hard cycle. What do you think, though, of the difficulty?
I couldn't have said it better myself. It absolutely reminds me of the Soul cycle. And as I'm playing this game, it reminds me similarly of and again, I just played Hollow Knight, right? So that skews my experience quite a bit in that it feels like that the game does feel like I'm just kind of continuing that experience, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then the difficulty is kind of ramping up a little bit. That said, though, I wouldn't quite call myself that good at Hollow Knight, and I'm not that good at Silksong. At least in terms of the combat, but I'm still taking like maybe like through 4 to 7 tries per boss, and I'm seeing people say that they quit after that, and it's like, why are you quitting? To that I say, why are you quitting? That's not too hard. That's just the right amount of difficulty. It really is.
Yeah, my only, I guess, criticism that I could say, Gene, is that some of the runbacks are a little longer.
They're longer in this game
than I would like, and like kind of annoying, some of them. Or I'm like,
There's one later in the game where I'm just like, whoa, welcome back, Dark Souls 2. Holy shit.
Dude, I was thinking of Demon Souls when I was playing this. I was like,
Demon
it's like Demon Souls, you gotta die and run through the whole fucking level again almost. I mean, it's not nearly that long, but it just kind of reminded me of it.
It was Demon Souls and Dark Souls 2. Those two are the tricky. And this game is tricky like Dark Souls 2 too, where they'll have like little stupid traps or whatever like that. Oh, you thought that you were collecting an item? Well, too bad. Yeah. Here's a bunch of fucking enemies that you probably didn't expect. They bait you a lot or whatever. So this is very Dark Souls 2 like. That said, though, according to write-in, you know what? If they added an accessibility mode where, because so many of the enemies take off 2 pips instead of 1, whereas in Hollow Knight, most enemies would take out 1 pip. And it was like the special bosses, like the final boss or whatever, that would take out 2 pips. And that's when you had to lock in, right?
Yep.
But with this one, the reason why, and I tweeted about this too, it's like the reason why they took out 2 pips is because Hornet herself just moves a lot faster, you get the dash really early, as opposed to Hollow Knight, you get it, a little bit later in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So they're expecting you to use the dash incorporated into the move set. You gotta be using it as a defensive option as well. It's your role.
Yeah, she's way more mobile than I remember in Hollow Knight 1.
Yes, and then the diagonal dive kick too. In the pogo jump in Hollow Knight, it didn't get you up very high at all. And it was very instantaneous, right?
Yeah.
Whereas a dive kick or even her other downward attack in Hornet, there's a lot of momentum and weight to it. And so again, like these guys are geniuses in that they gave the animation feeling so much weight. So then when she hits an enemy, there's a knockback where she'll kind of bounce away from that, and then that gives you, the player, the opportunity to either pogo again or navigate yourself away from the hit that you just poked out of. There's a real dance that's really, really difficult to get down, but there's more of a dance in terms of the combat here, I think, and that's how they kind of rebalance things. But I would welcome a difficulty mode where things just took out one pip at a time, at least. I think that would be a decent compromise in that you're not really sacrificing the experience of the game. You're just a little bit tankier, and so you don't have to hit those runbacks a lot more. And I think that would have been a nice compromise.
Sure. And I think I saw reporting that was one of the first mods, right?
That was one of the first mods. Regular damage.
There's shit like that for Elden Ring too, and every Souls game, like make it easier mods and stuff like that.
Of course. Yeah. Oh my god, dude! People complain so much about Shattered Earth Tree. That was so annoying, dude.
Yeah, so annoying.
I can't imagine what it feels like for Hornet Knight, Hollow Knight fans to experience this too. Because I see the subreddit just be rip each other apart. Where I'm tired of all the complaining. I'm gonna complain about it, and then there's more complaining about how hard it is. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm curious though, Gene, because I haven't played Hollow Knight in a long time, and you just did. I remember the game being challenging. I don't remember it being like an easy game, like a walk in the park.
It was hard too.
And I've seen like some of the DLC they added for those games where it's like fucking really hard. So I'm kind of like, maybe it's just a lot of people hopping in who don't have experience with the first game or don't know what they're getting into. Maybe just being kind of caught off guard. Because the game's hard. I've done a lot in the game, which I'm fine with, but I'm just like, yeah, it's kind of what I expected from the game. I expected it to be a challenging game because the first one was. But I don't know. Maybe that's just perspective because I've played the first one. What? Here, let me read this from Drew D. Hey guys, hope you all are well. Can I vent for a second about Silksong? Am I crazy, or is Silksong a more annoying game than Hollow Knight? For example, why can I only heal once my Silk bar is fully up instead of piecemeal like in the first game, making healing way more infrequent? Because fuck you, that's why. Why do the rosary beads, your main currency, bounce all over the place when you knock them off somewhere and they fall off screen and into lava, the great beyond, and all the time? Because fuck you, that's why. Why do most bosses do 2 out of the 5 of your starting hit points with their damage, which compound with the more infrequent ability to heal? Makes those hits hit that much harder. Because fuck you, that's why. Anyways, apologies for the rant. I am enjoying the game, but I had to vent about these gripes somewhere. Hope you guys have a great day. Best, Drew D.
I finally got 7 pips on my life bar. I can finally survive more than 3 attacks at a time now.
Yeah, I think I have 6.
Like 1, 2,
right
3. Oh,
yeah. You get health upgrades very infrequent in the game.
It's so infrequent, way less frequent than Hollow Knight. That's for damn sure.
Which is kind of sick because I respect the game, because when you get an upgrade like that in this game, it feels like a big ass deal. I'm like, oh shit, hell yeah. And I'm not saying there's one right way or another one's right or above the other, but like some Metroidvanias I play, like you're constantly getting like health upgrades and stuff like that, mana upgrades, which is cool. But like
energy tanks, you get so many energy tanks in Metroid by comparison. That's for damn sure.
But when I get stuff in this game, it feels like game changing, like big deal when I get like a nice upgrade. So I kind of love that a lot. One thing I will push back on here is they say, why can't I only heal once my silk bar is fully instead of piecemeal like in the first game? Well, you can upgrade that silk bar, so you don't have to fill it up all the way every time you heal in the future.
You can, yes. Mine is actually quite filled up. I found a lot of soak bar upgrades, actually.
And you can get some crests that kind of give you like bonus silk things when you get hit, stuff like that, like a green bar to make it a little easier.
I found another tool, and it's an early tool, so it's not a spoiler, but it's an early tool where as you're healing, it actually becomes a defensive option too.
Yeah. So there's
a little bit of a counter, which is awesome. So cool.
For everything you're kind of complaining about here, there is a solution to it in the game. Via crest or something like that, like the beads, you can get an item that just brings them all to you. You don't even have to worry about it.
Yeah.
But I like the game because it makes you choose things. It makes you commit to certain things. Of course, you could swap them out anytime you want. When you go to a bench and stuff like that, there's no penalty for swapping. But I just kind of like these things where it makes you make a choice. You can't.
Yes.
You can't have everything at all times. You can have a lot of stuff that makes you very comfortable. Don't get me wrong. But there's always maybe like one or two things where you're like, oh, that would be nice to have. It
forces you to choose. Yes. Oh, you want to farm for rosaries now, right? You want to farm for money. Well, maybe you want to put this instead of the defensive option then too, to give yourself higher defense. So you have to choose and you have to be deliberate on what you do in the game, which is fun. I like that actually, it makes it again, it's immersing me more into the adventure because I'm making these decisions as Hornet, and I'm investing myself in the character in that way. I really liked it.
Hoeg, man, so you've played a little bit of the game. You're not loving it so far, but is there anything that you're appreciating about it?
No, I absolutely appreciate the craft here. This is not a indictment of the game at all.
Right.
This is exactly what I should have expected having played Hollow Knight, seen how much I enjoyed it or didn't as compared to the rest of the world on this point, and saying, yep, that sure appears to be Hollow Knight 2 or Hollow Knight Additional. And I still really like the way things look. I really like the animation style in particular on these characters. And I really like the coloration of the various areas that I have seen so far. I think it's a saturated kind of looking game, and it's unique in that respect. I have not enjoyed the progress of going through the map as much as other Metroidvanias that I have played. Some of that might be get good, right? Like this does require more than in some ways I'm able to give at this point in time. That's just being honest with my own capabilities on this kind of stuff. And it does ask for a little bit, in particular on those diagonal jump kicks, where it's just very difficult for me to get that precision exactly right as to whether or not I'm going forward or going down and forward. And that's not on them, that's on me. But I can see that it's clearly a talented crew making a game of substance. It just hasn't hit me where I would love it to hit.
Yeah. Dude, all fair. Totally. Just one thing about the difficulty and stuff like that and the options that people want difficulty options. I'm actually a big fan of developers having one difficulty for a lot of their games and just kind of having this tailored experience what they want all the players to go through. And in my opinion, this doesn't work all the time. For instance, in Final Fantasy 16, in my opinion, way too easy of a game at going through it. And I wish it was harder at the start like that. But I think in like Hollow Knight, it's working really well here. Maybe because I'm a Souls person and I like that challenge. I like that perseverance, that feeling of overcoming a challenge. I know not everyone has the patience for that or stuff like that or time like that, but to me, it resonates a lot. Gene, I guess, is there any final thoughts you want to talk about the game before we move on?
We'll
have plenty more to say in the future when we can talk about everything.
And I'm not even done with the game, so that's still pending. The side quests are
You're right.
That's another difference with the game.
Yeah,
there's a whole quest log.
Yes, yeah, very simple, well done to track stuff.
Very, very simple. There's a quest log. Here are the quests you accepted. Here are here is the location on where you can finish the quest, right? Or they give you hints on what zone.
Yeah, it doesn't like show you on the map necessarily, but it like you read it. And it's like, okay, it's here in the lower part of this section or something.
Or some quests might show you.
Oh, okay. Maybe I haven't gotten one of those yet.
There is a very rare. I actually just did. I think what might be the hardest side quest in the game. And it was oh my god, it was crazy. It was so. I was like, I can't believe we got to do this, and I won't spoil it, but it's like, oh my god. But the reward for it is like incredible. I needed to get it right.
Yeah.
But it showed me where to get it. That's how hard this fucking side quest was, in that it shows you on the map where to go and what to do. It's just the doing part that's so fucking hard, and it's like, oh well, at least you know where to go. So the game actually does that sometimes, where it's like we're not like we know this quest is super hard. We're not gonna leave you in the complete dark. Here's where you gotta go.
Yeah.
Fucking figure that shit out, you know?
Yeah.
But that's what happened. But again, that's a huge difference from Hollow Knight. A lot more guidance around this time. The music is wonderful, and it gets even better. Oh my god, like it's really like they heard my complaints from Hollow Knight 1, like they reached into my brain from 2018, and they're like, oh, Gene didn't like this part of me, and he really tipped out. It really feels like they understood why, because again, like Hoeg, right? I think they understand why a lot of people dip out of the first game. And I think they really, really tried to address that with the second game as well, without compromising what I feel like is their original vision. You know, obviously the difficulty and the immersion part of it is there. What else? The quests are great. The NPCs are fantastic.
Love collecting the fleas.
Yes, the fleas are very, very cute. They're this version's game of the grubs, but the grubs were little bugs, and the fleas are basically big old bug dogs. You know?
And they go, ow! Yeah, when you go
they're dogs, basically. It's awesome. So many great NPCs. They're all so memorable. You finish these NPC quest lines too, just the same. I finished one major one, and it was a beautiful, beautiful story. It was so beautiful. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my god, like look at his location and look at what happened in the story. This is crazy, you know. The locations are amazing. This is a massive, massive game. I am comparing it a lot in my head to Castlevania Symphony of the Night, because like you, Brad, I also kind of consider it the apex. I think Super Metroid is like the ultimate classic, but Castlevania does so much to expand that formula that I think it's very easy to think that is also like the kind of the apex of where that formula can go. One thing I still love about Castlevania that I feel like a lot of other Metroidvanias don't get is that really, really deep RPG system that Symphony of the Night had, you know?
Sure.
With different equipment, because we're talking about different equipment and different quests or everything like that.
The hidden
That's something that Silksong does not do. This is not really so much of an RPG. You don't increase in strength. You don't get different weapons for different things. Whereas Alucard will get different. That's how fucking good Castlevania Symphony of the Night was, man. You know, like I saw some comments last week. They're like, I wish people would stop glazing Symphony of the Night, man. There's so much better Metroidvanias. I'm like,
I won't stop. No.
Not really, man. I don't think so, man. Symphony of the Night, you get different weapons, and the animation will completely change depending on different weapons.
Shield Rod, OP.
Shield Rod, you can get shields, you can get whips, you can get different swords. You get so many different types of swords, and they all swing differently. It's incredible, and that's shit that you don't get in Silksong. You know,
right?
That game felt like it came out in 2025. You know. Yeah. Still so much more developed and advanced than even Silksong or Hollow Knight. Let's be real. That said, I love Silksong so much. I really do think both of these games are truly up there. I think. I think they can sit alongside Super Metroid and Symphony of the Night. That's what I'll say for sure.
Yeah. But
I guess not much to say without I think a spoiler cast would be warranted for this one. I will say that I think this is easily in my game of the year running now. Is it better than Donkey Kong Bonanza? To be quite honest, if it continues to hold up this way, I think it would be. And here's the reasoning. Because I love Donkey Kong Bonanza for its gameplay, right? And how innovative it was, and how good it felt to control, and how good it was to complete. Because I 1,000% completed that, right? Silksong and both Hollow Knight have basically what I want in like everything I want in the game, which is great gameplay. It even has great platforming, same as Donkey Kong Bonanza. It has a great story, really compelling gameplay loop, great art style, which I do love now. I've gotten used to it now. So I'm definitely cheering for Silksong over Expedition 33 now at this point. I would have been fine with Expedition 33 winning over Donkey Kong Bonanza. I think that's a fine choice. But now that Silksong is here and I love it so much, I'm like, now I'm actually actively cheering against Expedition 33 maybe. But we'll see though. We'll see. I'm just talking out of my ass and just speculating.
Sure.
Just for the sake of it. I can't wait to talk about a spoiler cast. I can't wait to get done with this game. I can't wait to see what happens at the end.
Me too. Yeah.
Because the story and the locations are really, really wrapping up into something really, really special.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm loving it too. Can't wait to play more of it. We'll talk about it more in the future when me and Gene finish it as well. But awesome game. If you like Metrovanias or curious about it, highly recommend it. Only $20 and it's on Game Pass. So if you're curious, not too much of an asking price to hop on into. All right. Hoeg. Hell is Us. I played the demo of this game when it came out, and I was like, okay, there's something cool here. I like this. When I played it, I was like, combat's whatever, but I liked the idea of they don't tell you what to do, no map, no nothing like that. More puzzle focus I thought was cool. But you've been playing the game.
Oh, yeah.
The full game, actually, now, though. Talk to me, Hoeg.
Yeah, so I didn't actually know there was a demo out for this game. So I was excited about this one from the first reveals where I thought it was just Death Stranding 2. Like the trailers just had a lot of that vibe when it first was announced. And then it came out, and I have been kind of learning what this thing is. And I like that you said the combat was, hey, whatever, because that is my biggest criticism of this game, which is to say, if you're just here for the gameplay, as people say, just here for the combat, the swinging of the swords, the killing of the monsters, I think you're going to leave disappointed. Because that is not what this game does best. It's honestly almost included as a matter of course, in my opinion, that you have to do something to get from point A to point B. So we're going to put these crazy monsters in your way and you're going to swing a sword at them. It isn't all that compelling, but that is not what this game design is about. This is a game that is designed like nothing I have seen before. And if you like old school adventure games where you're walking around Mist Island, or you're coming up against a door that you don't know how to unlock and you have to look at various patterns and symbols on the wall and get notes on what it is that might unlock this door, then even though this is a high AA, almost AAA type over-the-shoulder combat experience, that is what you're going to get in this game. They have marketed this as no waypoints, no maps. You're just there on your own in this world. That is mostly true. There are maps and ways that you can get certain direction from various NPCs in this world. But the overall concept is we are going to drop you in this fictional world of 1993, I think, the early 90s at bare minimum, in a civil war where the not UN is sent in peacekeepers and religious factions are fighting over various things. Oh, and interdimensional demons of some kind have shown up, or monsters. And you are not going to understand what's going on at all, but you're going to be dropped in. And then when you talk to a character in this game, they're going to say something like, well, you're going to need a car. And that car is somewhere in the forest. The forest is north of here. If you follow the fence along this way, you're going to know where the forest is. And if you go through that gate at the top of the fence, you're going to hear wind chimes. You're going to follow those wind chimes. And it's just like getting directions in real life, but more than maps and waypoint markers, it really puts you in that environment. It's very, very immersive. You really have to pay attention to where you are and what you're seeing and hearing, what the people actually say to you. And as a function of proceeding along along that route, you're going to have investigations, is what they call kind of the quest log in this game. And they're going to be all these spider webs of information that you're getting to move forward. And I just absolutely love it. First and foremost, I love that the world that they've set this in is so kind of disconcerting. You're constantly not understanding exactly what's going on. It is a civil war. You can see like tanks in the mud and all these various things, but it's also deeply religious, not real religion, fake religion, mysticism and weirdness. And you don't understand exactly who's praying to who and what that might have to do with the monsters, if anything. But you can tell that there's a war. You're going to figure out exactly how that war happened. You are the kind of trope of the vanished orphan that used to live in this country and doesn't know anything about what's happened since. And it's a country that's completely cut off from the world. So everything here is kind of unknown to everyone involved. But if you like adventure games, if you like stories like that, certainly don't be put off by the existence of the monsters and the sword swinging, because it's not going to detract from your experience. This is a game, unlike Silksong, that has difficulty settings. It actually has one of my favorite settings that I have seen in a game like this. Somebody asked me earlier whether this was a Souls-like. The answer is, no, not really. But it has a setting that you can set in the menu of this game called Death Penalty that essentially kind of emulates the Souls experience, where everybody pops up if you die, everybody's revived, and you have to go figure out how to get back to where you were. That is not the kind of standard way this game is set up. It's mostly more like grinding monsters, and then you'll have the area clear, and then you can move forward with what you want to do, because you're also going to be keeping track of the fact that that fish symbol needs to go next to that eyeball symbol, and you're going to have to open this wheel to get through this door, and maybe then talk to a UN peacekeeper, because it's that kind of game. But I love it. I love the way that it looks. I love that this design exists. This reminds me of old school game design. And I think that there is a desire from video game designers to kind of look at this and put you as a player in these spaces. You see this most often with the Ubisoft Assassin's Creed model, where they let you turn off the specific way markers and let you listen to people and say it's going to be in the northwest of the city. But that game series, as much as I like Assassin's Creed, is not designed for that. So it always feels like you're turning off the training wheels, but you're not really working with the game designers in the way that they intended you to experience, whether it's ancient Japan or Rome or Egypt or anywhere else. In this case, this is completely designed around, you're going to talk to this guy. He's going to say these various things. He's going to use landmarks to explain what you're looking at. You do have a compass just to kind of get your bearings as to what direction you're even facing. And it's just a wild story that is like nothing else that I've experienced. This was my favorite game of this last week, which admittedly also had Silksong and some other things launch here at the top of September. But Hell Is Us, high recommend from me. Really like it. It does have a demo, as I understand it, as Brad mentioned.
Yep.
So you can check it out on your own.
It's the beginning of the game, too.
But yeah, it's really off-putting. Much like Expedition 33, there's a lot of French influence in it. Not France, like Expedition 33, but I believe Canadian French on this. But it has that kind of existential philosophy that I see so often in French art kind of come into play here. Hell Is Us, a riff on Hell Is Other People. You're in a civil war. It's a religious civil war. What the heck is even happening is all part of this game. And so it's riffing on what does war mean? What does war mean in connection with religion? And all of these questions, while also letting you swing a big magic sword at interdimensional monsters.
So Hoeg, the thing I liked about the game, like you were touching on, is the puzzles and stuff like that adventure game feeling. Yeah. From what I played of the game, this was early in the game, so I'm just curious about this. It was like, hey, here's this symbol, and it kind of matches up with this. You find out what order it goes in, stuff like that. Do the puzzles kind of evolve in interesting ways, or is it always kind of like ancient ruins, here's this symbol, put in the right spot kind of thing?
Well, they mess with the religious rocks and ancient tablets, as well as the printouts of things that might be happening from like the Civil War guns and UN peacekeeper kind of side of things. So there's different versions of those puzzles. I wouldn't characterize any of them as overly esoteric. They aren't really full mist or full riven, however you want to think about this, puzzles, but they do demand that you're kind of engaged with the game at all times, which I find to be very good as part of these games. And so I'm glad to see that. But no, I wouldn't characterize these as terribly difficult puzzles for the most part.
Okay.
It gets a little bit more tricky when the areas open up a little bit. So this is, I think they describe it as semi-open world. You might also think of this as wide linear level design, big areas, not a real world that has 600 things you can do. Not an Assassin's Creed where you're just picking whatever story thread that you want to do. It is a linear story. You're originally starting out trying to figure out where your family went as you get back into this war-torn country. And that kind of evolves into a bunch of other things, but constantly interesting things, right? What is the war about? What are those people looking for? Why do these people hate each other? What does that mean? Who is my dad? What is my family? These kinds of things all at once, and really well acted, right? Really good acting in this game. It's got, I never remember his name, but it's got Deus Ex guy as the main character.
I was like, oh, Adam Jensen when I heard him. Yeah.
Yep, that's it. Right. And I want to say it's like Elias Tufexis, but I'm sure I'm butchering that pronunciation, even if I got the syllables right. And he's really good. The actual just NPCs that you're talking to, and they have huge amounts of dialogue because you can ask about the investigations that you're on, and then you can ask kind of the more generic, what's happening in the country? What does this faction want? What does this faction want? And they're all motivated by whatever their character is. So the one faction, of course, will tell you that the other faction is just demons and evil, and the vice versa as you ask these various people things. But just exactly what I'm looking for in a narrative-driven world-building game. And I do wish the combat were a little bit more interesting because it does lack that little bit of polish right at the end. And I know that's going to kick some people out because they are looking for that gameplay. And I don't care as much about that when I play one of these games. But if that doesn't bother you, highly recommended from me.
All right. Otaps wrote and said, hello, or my fellow Gamish. I'm pleased to see Hoeg didn't get sucked into the hype of Metroidvania the game and decided to take on Hell Is Us. Well, too bad. He did. I'm about 9 hours in having a blast with it. Question for Hoeg. Do you think the game could do with any more player tools? I was thinking of a map that you have to find, unlock, or discover where you can mark locked doors, chests, or vault entrances. At present, I'm having to write a lot of notes down, which breaks the flow of the game. Keep on keeping on.
Yeah, so the game has a modified kind of fast travel system insofar as when you find a save point, you can bounce back to your home base. And so that helps you kind of keep track of what the game considers to be the areas. And I do use that as kind of back of the envelope, keeping track of what it is I've explored and what I haven't. I think that they were so focused on this design being, we're not going to have a map, we're not going to have waypoints, that's what led to the smart decisions on how they are going to direct you around with NPCs. And so I would worry if they added too many of those tools back, they would lean on those as a crutch. That's what my concern would be. But I do think that there are arguments that they take it a little bit too far because they want that purity, and then it might be helped to have a few extra tools around. I just don't know that the design could have survived even having that as an option for the designers. And maybe that's not giving them enough credit, but I do think the reason that it exists in the way that it does in this really unusual design is because they knew they had none of those tools to lean on. So I think I prefer it this way, but I agree that there are times where you say, well, man, it really would be nice to just pull up something on the old data pad here and say, I know that thing needs 2 blue sticks, and I'm going to have to go find 2 blue sticks and remember where I put it. So yeah, maybe there would be a way to mark it in some way, even in universe, flares that I could put up, something along those lines. But I do like that it requires so much of you to actually interact with this space as it stands right now.
Okay. Gene, I know you were kind of interested in the game. Have you had a chance to play it or anything? I know you're playing a bunch of other stuff, though.
Yeah, this was actually originally going to be my game for Summon Sign, but I diverted to fill out the roster for a bit, and we can talk about that game a little bit more. But I did play about an hour of Hell Is Us, and what struck me is exactly what Hoeg said, is that this is an adventure game. Despite the very Souls-like camera, you clicking R3 to lock onto enemy and everything like that, the mood and the pacing of the game, there's so many conversations in Hell Is Us that was what's striking. And I was like, oh, I'm playing a classic old school PC adventure game. The way they kind of talk to you and Elias's voice, obviously from Deus Ex, coming through the speakers, very, very, welcoming into the PC game adventure experience. The tone, the music, the atmosphere. That's what I got out of it. So I'm really looking forward to getting back into this because it really does feel like I was like, oh, it's like a Souls-like, right? But in the future, I'm cool with that. I'm not super tired of Souls like Twitter says, right?
Mm.
And then I find this, and I'm just like, oh, this isn't really like a Souls-like at all. It feels like the basic Souls-like combat is just to be there, and it's kind of besides the point. And it feels like the point is to talk to different characters and really understand this world, which I think is exactly what Hoeg's cup of tea is, right? That's your favorite kind of game. It's just
that's where I live.
Yeah. It's that you're learning about a world, and I think that's one indicator of success for Hoeg, and that's a great indicator for an adventure game or a game that wants to immerse you. So, I'm looking forward to playing more Hell Is Us for sure. Once I get time, we'll definitely be going back to it.
One thing I would kind of concerned about the game, Hoeg, is we've said that combat is like serviceable, it's not that special and everything like that, and we're saying like adventure game elements, which is true in a lot of ways, I think. But from the demo I played, there is actually a lot of combat in the first area of the game. I don't know if this continues throughout the whole kind of thing, and it did feel like more, if we want to just throw it out there for ease of understanding, like Souls-like in the sense of like the pace. I'm just going through this like dungeon area, taking out a lot of guys, and there's a few puzzles here and there, but combat had a large focus, which isn't the game's strongest point. Is this kind of something that echoes throughout the whole game? Like, is there a lot of combat?
Well, I haven't beaten it. I want to make clear on that. But yeah, there are areas of large groups of monsters, and some of the monsters have certain, we'll call them magical powers for purposes of this conversation. And when you get enough of
geometry, those, monster, weird stuff like that.
You got to fight a lot of geometry. If you're not sick of fighting geometry from Destiny, you can get in Hell Is Us and get your fix of fighting spheres and squares and anything else that really just bugs you from geometry class. But yeah, when a number of those monsters that have that geometry magic kind of come in all at once, it gets very kind of uncontrollable. And because it is semi-open world, it gets tricky. But for the most part, you're going to have enough healing. You're going to have enough defensive maneuvers to just be able to barrel through, in my experience, at least. One of the issues with the Souls games for me is that you've got that kind of standardized 3 to 5 heals per bonfire kind of notion. This is one where you can collect enough resources to just say, all right, I'm rigged enough to get through this area, and then take whatever hits you have to take. It is a little bit annoying that you don't have that same kind of agility, same kind of responsiveness that you do in the Souls kinds of games. But I have not found it to be particularly problematic myself so far, and I'm probably more sensitive to it than most.
Gotcha. Okay, but yeah, Hell Is Us is out. There's a demo, so if you're curious about it, you can check it out there. All right, Hoeg, the next game. This is why I like having you on the show a lot. Monster Train 2. I've never heard of this.
You never heard of this?
No.
Nope.
Talk to me. What is Monster Train 2?
Oh, okay. All right. Well, Monster Train from a couple of years back, I think, was a very popular card-based roguelike game that I played.
This is such a Hoeg game then. Yeah, I'm looking at this right now. Okay.
That I played on PC. Monster Train 2 was much anticipated by a lot of folks. Came out, I think, maybe 6 months ago at this point in time. I played it, essentially thought, yep, that's more Monster Train. Put it in my desk drawer, and then was encouraged to evaluate it again by one of my co-hosts on the Bitcast for Season Gaming. And I got into it again, and this game just absolutely took over my entire brain space.
Cool.
So I know people have heard how much I enjoy board and card games, and I like board and card games in video game form pretty often. But this is a game that design space-wise is just absolutely huge. The first game, Angels had invaded Hell. You're defending Hell with your various monster hordes. The train that you have has 3 levels. The people that you are fighting against are trying to get up from the bottom level to the top level so that they can hurt your train, and your train has hit points. The pyre that operates your train has hit points. And so you're trying to stop them before they get there. And that means that you're managing essentially 3 different combat scenarios, 3 different Magic the Gathering battlefields at once, while building together this deck as you go through the Souls-like progression to ultimately fight whatever the big bad boss is. Now, in Monster Train 2, the big bad boss is an angel that's been taken over by the Titans and has corrupted all of heaven. So the angels that aren't corrupted have joined with the demons from hell and are operating a new train to try to get back heaven from this evil angel. And there are 5 factions in Monster Train 2, each of which essentially are a different play style that you build your deck around. But every run in Monster Train 2 is going to be a primary clan, this deck type, and a secondary clan, which is also going to be involved in the fighting. And just that alone provides all of this design space because the angels, one of the clans, essentially are focused on moving the characters around the board. And some of the champions and some of the characters in the angel clan will get benefits and bonuses for movement as part of that. And so you're trying to kind of build that up. One of the other clans is focused on magic powers and increasing magic powers on a given floor so that you get a bunch of these kind of trash spells that do 1 damage each. But if the power is high enough, they can do 15. And you stack that with other things that go along with one of the other clans that you're using in your deck. And you get all of these really interesting synergies and combinations. You multiply that across all 5 clans. And then on top of that, you get different battles with different setups and different things that you can turn on for difficulty modifiers that will help you get more gold to make your run. And so you're making those evaluations at the same time. And then on top of all that, you're also trying to earn different pyres that run your train that do different crazy things, like add upgrades to different cards when you get them from drafts, or allow you to get more draws for a card out of your card deck if you use each of the clans in any given turn. Those are just some examples of that, but you're earning all of those at the same time. And much like Hades, if you're making progress on those lines, when you go back to base after a given run, you're getting narrative increases as well. Now, this isn't Shakespeare. It's demons and angels joined up to fight titans in heaven. That's the level of narrative we're getting here. But the fact that it exists at all in a card game is just fantastic, and I just love it to death. And it has substantial twists and turns in terms of what the design space is, even beyond what I have said, which I don't think I want to reveal in the context like this one. But suffice to say, one of my favorite things that game designers do is have additional features and things that are happening within their game that are not divulged by the user interface or window structure from the very top of the game. I think after you've played a lot of games, you can see where there's holes, where there must be something else that goes there, where there must be something that's going to be added here, and you kind of get used to it, and that's fine. That's totally normal. But in Monster Train, they actually spent the time and resources to hide the ball from you about what they're even doing with this game up until a few key points as you progress the feature set. And so this is a game, much like you guys mentioned with respect to Silksong, that I essentially look at and say, I am thinking about other strategies that I could do with these cards and with the artifacts and things that I'm collecting on any given run. That's awesome. I just want to be playing Monster Train 2 some more at any given time.
Cool. I'm looking at Hoeg, and it looks like I'm a match or a mishmash between Hearthstone and Darkest Dungeon in the way that like the characters are laid out in a row and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, the difference, of course, being that you're not selecting what your monsters do.
It's a completely different game and like how you play, but just looking at it visually, like the rows and all that kind of stuff reminds me of Darkest Dungeon a lot.
Yeah.
But this looks really cool. Yeah, looks really awesome.
It's amazing. It's going on my top 10. There's no question.
Oh, damn. Okay.
In my mind. So I love these games. I love a lot of different card games. I think I was on Summon Sign and I talked about Become the Moon, which was an auto battler card game that I really love and I still recommend to folks. Monster Train 2 has about 10 times the design space as Become the Moon. Like, it's just enormous. The amounts of things that you can do. There's 100 different ways to build a winning deck. And the runs are long, but short enough that you just want to jump into the next one as soon as you're done with the last one. I think my average time for a run is about 2 hours.
Okay, wow, 2 hours. That's a long run.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not insofar as how these games can go with like just really long periods of time. So you always are kind of going through battles and then getting the next upgrade to your deck and wanting to see how that does in the next fight. And so you kind of drive through to the eighth or ninth ring of hell to see how your deck did. This game also adds, I think, separate from Monster Train 1. I don't pretend to have a perfect understanding of everything that's in Monster Train 1. But this adds an endless mode when you do beat the game on a run, where you can see exactly how far your deck can go. Because by the time you beat a run in any of these games, it feels like nothing could possibly take you down. So those endless runs are fun to see exactly how strong this deck is compared to one other one that you might have won with. It has consistently increasing difficulty settings that you can continue to try to challenge yourself with. And each of the clans themselves are gaining levels as you use them. Like I said, the design space, absolutely enormous. If there are any complaints I have about this game, the graphic style is a little busy, especially when there's a lot of monsters on any given floor. And maybe a little bit not streamlined. Like you can see that there's a lot of different artists working on a lot of different components of the game, so it doesn't always feel like they're part and parcel of the same game. And the music is a lot. And when I was talking about this the other week, I had mentioned this to my daughters, where I said, this is a lot. It's a lot of organs, a lot of angry rock, as it were, when you're trying to play your card game. And I mentioned this to my daughters who were in the room while I was playing this. And they said, yeah, it is a lot, Dad, but they're all bangers. And so take it from the Hoeg girls. The music is fantastic. It's just a lot to try to think through your strategy during. So there's a lot of loudness in Monster Train 2 that maybe isn't the thing that I would necessarily seek out, but the actual game itself is maybe the best version of a card-based roguelike that I have seen in this space. So Monster Train 2, one of my games of the year. Absolutely.
Cool. Awesome, view. Yeah, it looks really cool. It looks like a game that you could easily get sucked into for long periods of time.
I think my Switch has it at 30 plus hours right now for this little card game.
Okay, wow. All right, boys, let's move on to Sort It Out. This segment, we just talk about something we're not too pleased with in the game industry. Could be a variety of things, person, game itself, whatever. Gene, let's start with you. Is there anything that's you think needs sorting this week?
Yeah, my Sort It Out is actually the same as his next write-in. So maybe we want to.
All right, I'll read that first.
You want to mention that first too?
This is from Shard of Odium. I'm going to issue a Sort It Out to game journalists and developers complaining about Silksong's release. I don't love Hollow Knight as much as most people, but to say that Team Cherry owes them more of a notice is absurd. They owe you nothing. No one complained when a game like Oblivion Remastered Shadow dropped, but because this is such an anticipated game, everyone is up in arms. Sort it out. I think I'm going to piggyback off you too, Gene, but I'll let you go first.
Yeah. Let's have a little session, but a light sorted out to people, especially game journalists who are, look, I get it. As a journalist, I hate having my schedule thrown off. I haven't been a games journalist for most of my career. Again, still after 5 years of covering games for the Washington Post, I still have spent more than a decade being a police reporter, a crime reporter. Look, Mike Silksong is someone getting a baby getting thrown on the freeway. Mike Silksong is a kidnapping case gone wrong that turns into a shooting in the middle of the street. I don't expect that stuff to happen. They just shadow drop a murder,
Yeah.
And then suddenly I have to work, Guys, that's what news is. When something unexpected happens, you do have to shift gears to address the thing that just happened, White House reporters, when Trump wants to go do a certain thing or do something completely random, they don't have the luxury of saying, "Oh, I wish you gave us a more of a heads up. You have more of a responsibility to give us a heads up." No,
Yeah.
The responsibility is the onus is on the journalists to shift gears and cover it. It's. I'm not going to speak for developers. I know that a lot of developers are quote unquote speaking out or at least having takes on Silksong, and I'll just let them have them because whatever. I'm not a developer and I don't care. But at least on the journalism side, I get complaining about it. I understand that, and I think you can complain about it, but like to write articles about it, to make content around it, and say, "Hey, Silksong should have thought about the industry more," is weird because one, and I keep stressing this. It really feels like that when games journalists say, when they talk about the games industry, they think they're part of the games industry. They keep saying our industry, or we have a responsibility to the games industry, or whatever.
Right.
You are not supposed to speak for the games industry. Your job is to cover it, period. You know? But a lot of games journalists have it in their head that it's like, oh, why isn't Jeff Keighley giving awards to games journalists? That's because the Game Awards is for the games industry.
Are people actually saying that?
Yeah, they were
what a bunch of morons.
They were saying that a couple years ago because the Game Awards has a future class thing, right? And then like just because he gave the future class to like one journalist, they were like, well, why isn't he giving it to journalists constantly? And it's like, guys, if you want recognition for your journalism work, you should be submitting your work to journalism contests.
Yeah.
There are dozens, if not hundreds of those, You do not need approval from Jeff Keighley saying, hey, good job covering this,
Right.
Jeff Keighley is not a journalist anymore, and he barely was. I love Jeff. I love Jeff a ton, but he was more of an MC, and I think he appropriately saw that in himself, and he shifted goals and just kind of leaned into that more, But I think it's very strange when journalists start to kind of speak for the industry,
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, well, okay, well, the guides writers now have to shift gears, and they have to jam on Silksong basically now. Like play it even heavier than even I have been for the past week, because I'm trying to get to this review too.
Yeah,
a huge part of the reason why I'm playing Silksong, and the reason why I didn't play my next game that I'll talk about later this episode, I don't play that much of it, is because I am prioritizing Silksong. I am trying to get this review out quickly too, right?
Mm-hmm.
But guess what? I'm just gonna do the work, And then like a lot of like people in the games media like complains about crunch, and it's like, guys, this is not crunch. This is covering the news. You understand? When we're like about a month away from when that earthquake off of Russia happened, and then Hawaii was going to be hit with a tsunami that thankfully wasn't anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then I logged into my old colleagues over at Channel 9 News, Hawaii News Now, right? And they were working from 5 p.m. to 5 a.m., right? On camera the whole time, a 12-hour shift. You know what those guys are going to say that once they get out the camera? They're not going to say, oh, man, I can't believe we crunched today.
Right.
They're going to say, oh, man, I'm really glad the tsunami didn't turn into anything. That was good. I'm glad that, but that was good coverage, and that was necessary. We needed to do that. You don't complain about doing more work when there's more work to do, when there's more news to do. I think it's so weird. So yes, the guides writer have to crunch right now. Welcome to the job, actually.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'd like to hear some of the audience think about this too. Like, how do you guys feel about all these stories about crunch and everything like that? When you guys at home are probably working your asses off too, you guys are probably working 10-hour, 12-hour shifts, and no one's covering for you. No one's advocating. There's no journalist advocating for you and your crunch hours, right? So how do you feel about that, listeners out there? I want to know. But that's my take on it. I think it's a little crazy to complain about having to cover breaking news when breaking news happens.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get to dictate the terms of when a car accident happens or when a murder happens. Or when something happens in Congress or the White House. What if there's a fight that breaks out? All of a sudden you got to work a little harder for that day. You got to work a longer shift. Talk to your boss about getting time off after that too. But lock in. It's time to do the news. Time to do that guide. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
that's your job.
It's so weird for me because I reviewed games for like 8 years or something like that, professionally or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, you did. You did it professionally.
Yeah, and like getting stuff did make the job a lot easier earlier and stuff like that. And of course, like I understand some reviewers like wanting to get the coverage out as soon as possible because it's good for business and all that kind of stuff. And I get it. But dude, like Shard of Odium said here, you are owed nothing. You are not obligated to get any of this kind of stuff. The publishers, developers, they don't owe you anything. So calm down on that front right away. And personally, as a reviewer, when I would review stuff, sometimes I would work harder and stuff like that, but I never put out a review unless I was like sound on mine. It wasn't so much like I have to hit embargo. And I did a lot of times because I finished in time, but to me, it's more important to play at a good pace of the game and not kill yourself playing the whole fucking game because it can really impact your opinion on a game. In my opinion, if you're playing like huge shifts and stuff like that, you can miss a lot of stuff. Some stuff could really annoy you. That's not a big deal. So I think it's a weird thing. But like, no one wants to hear a fucking game journalist complain about not getting an early review for a game or something like that. It's like, dude,
that's crazy, man.
Shut up, dude. Just stop, man.
That's wild, dude.
Take a step back for 2 seconds. Stop acting like an asshole. All right.
Think outside yourself and think about how that looks to other people.
Yeah, you look like a little entitled little bitch when you do stuff like that.
It's not a good look. You're right that these publishers don't owe us anything, and also like, Kotaku is famously blacklisted for what was famously blacklisted from a lot of publishers for doing journalism, right? And that's great. I think I think that they did do their journalistic duty when they do that, right? But then it gets weird when they start complaining or when they start wearing it as an act of pride that they got quote unquote blacklisted from it. And then they start feeling like, oh, we're blacklisted. So it's like us against them or whatever like that. No, it isn't. You know who blacklisted the Washington Post during his presidency? Fucking President Barack Obama. The White House never gave an interview to the Washington Post after 2009. Because he was pissed off at one of our stories. So you know what? He just never fucking gave us an interview, period. He gave one interview to a book journalist after he was done president and he had a fucking book to promote. But when it came to being president, Barack Obama said no to the Washington Post. So it's so funny that, people call the Washington Post like, woke news or whatever that. And it's like Obama didn't fucking like us, You know what those White House journalists did? They didn't complain about, oh man, we're being so victimized by the Obama White House. You know what they did? They're like, okay, well, we'll just figure out some other way to do it then.
Yeah, I think this like victim mentality that some people have about this kind of stuff is ridiculous and very dramatic.
You cover video games.
Yeah, let's relax here.
Your games. You're covering gaming. You're not a victim of anything because you didn't get a video game.
Yeah,
you understand?
Yeah, and as like a consumer of games and stuff like that, I'd rather have a review come out that the person playing it had the proper time to process everything instead of just trying to rush through it. Yeah, I think the review will be much better.
Look at my 8-year-old review of Hollow Knight in the Washington Post that just published last week that thousands of people read. And I was lucky for that because and then I was lucky that people. I was lucky to have that time now, but I was lucky to have people to want to read that, and that's because I think people understood that I really, really gave Hollow Knight like a really, really hard second look, and they knew that this review was reflective over years of experience,
Yeah, it was like a very personal review, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, and if you have a good audience, then people will show up for your Silksong review, Now guides, I understand, but again. Guides you need to get out. The SEO, ChatGPT's got to steal shit from somewhere. So it's got to be your guides on IGN or Game Rant or whatever, like the Screen Game Rant or whatever. Yeah, got to hit the SEO. You got to hit the ChatGPT links or whatever. I understand that, and I understand complaining. But then after you complain to yourself personally or to your coworkers, lock in and do work. You don't have to complain about it publicly. You're just complaining about your job at that point,
Yeah.
And I understand that the job market's hard, so I can't really tell you to go get a different job, at least in this point. I won't say that now, but you got to understand the career you chose, A police reporter doesn't complain about murders having to cover murders. That just doesn't happen,
Yeah.
A court reporter, Hoeg, this. A court reporter doesn't complain when a trial goes on for all day, You get your breaks, you get your recesses. Go to the vending machine, get a snack, get a big burger, a big whatever burger or whatever. Shout out down outside the courtroom, and then go the fuck back in and listen to the trial. You know, I've sat through long ass trials. I've sat through trials that lasted for weeks. You know, I didn't complain about, oh my god, my schedule though. You know, my schedule was that.
I like Gene rants. I just do.
Yeah.
Okay. Hoeg, what about you?
Well, so I would like the record to show that my writing for Sorted Out was entitlement for Silksong release date cost. So that's what I had written in advance. Now I am going to take a different tack because Gene said as part of his rant, which I really did enjoy, that he wasn't going to talk about developers. I do want to talk about developers here.
Let's go for it.
Understand how this can be seen as deleterious to your efforts to sell your indie game, whatever it is. And as a guy that loves indie games and plays a lot of them, I can understand looking at this and saying, well, Silksong is this enormous game that Gene Park just told everybody he loves, and it's $20 or it's on Game Pass, and now I have to sell it into this window that we had already paid for marketing for 6 months ago, and I have to try to sell my game that's half as long and that nobody has this deep-seated desire to play for $30 or $40 because that's the cost margin that I've set out for my 8 years of effort. And I can be sympathetic to that. But what I can't be sympathetic to is this notion that Cherry and Silksong owes it to you to charge more to the consumers so that your game looks better against it, right? This is cartel behavior. And as a member of perhaps the most successful cartel in America, in the Bar Association, I can speak with some expertise on how much I hate people saying you shouldn't be allowed to do X, Y, or Z, because at the end of the day, that's driving down my ability to profit, right? And I was a member of a number of task forces here in the state of Michigan that tried to open up the practice of law to more of what you would consider standard pursuits in the year 2025, online finding of a lawyer, things like the WeWork kind of positioning of lawyers. But for those that don't know, the practice of law, attorneys in general, have only been allowed to market that they can practice law to the general public for a very short period of time in modern history. It used to be deemed unethical to even say that I perform legal services and you should come in and drop into my office if you have anything related to business law or other questions that I might be able to answer. That was unethical, that people were just supposed to say, hey, I need a lawyer, and go figure it out for themselves. And so with that as the background, the practice of law has only been slowly adopting the ability to have those billboards up that everybody loves so much, or those commercials during your favorite football program. And now we're facing an issue where lawyers want to go out online and say, hey, I'm available and I can answer these questions. And the bar comes in and says, well, that's unethical, ostensibly because you couldn't possibly give good legal services in that venue, which is obviously not the case. But realistically, because the fact that there's some barriers to entry to finding a lawyer and having these various mechanisms that you can go to find one keeps the price up for everybody else. And I absolutely hate that. And this is said as someone that benefits from that cartel and the rates that I charge for my legal services. But I hate that. And when I hear arguments out there from devs that say, I can't believe they priced it at $20, that's not being considerate of the rest of us that are out here in the indie mines. I understand it as a person, but I abhor it as someone that is on the consumer side of this equation that looks at this and says, no, they are to be feted. They are to be celebrated, that they took their 7 years of effort and said, this is what we think it's worth. When anybody is faced with the ability to purchase an indie game or a AAA game, they are not actually looking at their checkbook or their wallet and saying, I am not going to buy this because Silksong exists. They are deciding whether their $40, their $30, their $20 is worth more to them in their pocket than this experience that you can provide to them. And so I say sort it out to the developers. If you don't think that your product that you're putting out there is worth the $30, then that's between you and the customer. And honestly, Silksong and Cherry has almost nothing to do with it. And essentially arguing for your game should be more expensive. It should have a 2-year lead in so that I can make sure that my more expensive game can drop in the proper time frame is disrespectful to the consumers you are seeking to sell to. And that's what I say and sort it out.
All right.
I also feel like it's misdirected because it's like, how dare Fortnite be free? You know, where was that? Where was that outcry in 2017, 2018? We could have stopped this whole thing. You know, you could have saved Sony billion. You could have stopped Concord, you motherfuckers.
Oh man.
You know, if the entire industry came up and be like, how dare Fortnite be free? What about all of our other games? How could you offer this amazing, endless multiplayer game that people will literally be playing for 9 years and become the thing that the industry will chase, you know? That's the thing that's killing the industry, right? That's the thing that's taking money away from even fucking your Naughty Dogs or your Bungies or whatever like that, you know?
Right.
Well, I would say transforming the industry, not killing it. And that's part of the conversation here, right?
Yeah.
Is that those are legitimate conversation points for all of these video game makers to make. But you bring up the Sonys of the world and Concords and AAA games. We're used to seeing this conversation with expensive games and saying, no, we want the competition. We want the pricing pressure to make things more available and more economical for consumers. It doesn't end at the AAA line. Everybody involved in selling any products in any market faces competition, and competition is seen as a good for the consumer welfare kind of component of things. The better products at cheaper prices side of the equation, whatever side of the market you're looking at, whether it's AAA down to single A or below. And so these developers need to understand competition is good for the goose. It's good for the gander as well.
This is like complaining about a taco truck that comes into the taco truck park and starts selling tacos for $1 under everyone else.
And you know those complaints do exist.
Yeah, and they complain. They exist too, but that reality also exists. That you're just going to have. That's just. I'm sorry. That's just the market, you know. And Team Cherry, to their credit, they priced the game differently in different regions. You know, in South America, the game's only $12 in Mexico. You know, that's awesome. You know, so. I mean, again, Minecraft is only $20-$30. Minecraft is another endless game. How dare you sell that for $20 when my indie game about, you know, whatever is going to be selling for 30 or 40 or whatever like that. You know, it's you just got to figure that out, you know. And Team Cherry did. They figured it out for Hollow Knight. They made a great game for Hollow Knight, and they earned that reputation over the years, you know. And I'm the one that was calling Team Cherry the assholes like 2 weeks ago, and I still think they're kind of assholes for not communicating, you know. But like, I think that again, that comes from a place of jealousy, which I'm fully admitting. And I feel like some developers and journalists could admit to that themselves too. You know, I'm jealous of Team Cherry. I am jealous that these guys are so talented that they were able to become millionaires, and they were able to take the time to kind of enjoy their millions of dollars and have fun making a sequel to the game where they just became even richer now. What a great story for them. You know, yeah. I'm jealous of that. I wish I was them. Fuck them for doing that. Yeah. You know? But thank you for making a great game. You know,
they hate us because they ain't us. The old
exactly, dude. If I was Team Cherry, I'd be like the worst member of the team. You know,
just fucking
I'm like, fuck you, indies. You know, I'd be out on Twitter. I'd be the most hated member of Team Cherry. You know,
man, that's funny.
Me and Hoeg, we'd be the most hated members of anything.
All right, this is from Brandon J. Hey, Summoners, I have it sorted out to Microsoft and Age of Empires 2 and the damn trophies. Boys, I bought Age of Empires 2 and I have no idea how to play. So I did the tutorial and holy shit, these trophies are busted. I'm earning trophies for playing as an Indian, or I'm playing as India when the tutorial is in England. I'm getting trophies for making units I'm not making. Got a trophy for beating something on hard in the tutorial. Got one for beating a scenario I haven't played. It's wild. Anyway, this game has 332 trophies. I have 10 of them, and I think I've generally earned 3. Sorted out, Microsoft, but also thanks for the free trophies. Man, that sounds like need some QA on that, or quality assurance. Yeah, quality control, something.
You do occasionally see that with the buttons and the toggles for the trophies, where it's like, I'm not doing that at all, thing that just popped.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. Bug trophies. All right, this is from Neighbor. Sorted out to corrupted game saves. I was trying so hard to convince myself not to buy a new game and tackle the backlog. I turned on Sunset Overdrive and I'm enjoying it very much. And then goodbye, 5 hours of progress here. Here's your corrupted game saves. I was so pissed. I rage bought Hell Is Us early access and dumped 6 hours into it on day one. And to my surprise, it was fantastic. So also, thank you, corrupted save files. Man, I hate corrupted save files. I haven't had that in a long time, but God.
Yeah, I haven't seen one in a while either.
It was so bad back in the day, dude. Devastating. My Lords of Shadow game. I've talked about this. It got corrupted at the final boss of Lords of Shadow 1. So I had to replay the entire game to get back to it. I was like, God damn you, Konami.
Well, I think I've told this story here, but my brother deleted my Final Fantasy Tactics save right at the end. And I think the result of that process, when I tried to stop it by turning off the PlayStation, was a corrupted save file. But that's really not the game's fault.
Jeez. Dude, yeah. Devastation. You hate it. I hate it. Everyone hates it. All right, boys. Time for stuff we don't hate, though. Keep it up. The exact opposite. Stuff we're pleased with in the game industry. I'll just go right up. Team Cherry, well done. Keep that shit up. Silksong was great. Love it. Very happy. I wish it didn't take so long. We didn't announce it so early, but it is what it is. And the wait was worth it, in my opinion, so far.
Was I right in hearing that the Silksong was part of the original Kickstarter? It was a stretch goal, and then it got expanded?
Yes.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a DLC. It was supposed to be, hey, you got a second playable character in Hollow Knight. You can play as a lovely Hornet. And it just blew up into this massive game.
A huge sequel,
Turns out to be the Elden Ring of Metroidvanias, basically.
Yeah, so, because my old coworker, Ben Moore, played it at E3 in 2019. So...
That's fucking crazy, dude.
Yeah, things.
And you see the announcement trailer on the Nintendo channel, in 2019, and it's like, dude, the fucking game was already kind of ready back then. I wonder what exactly took them so long, what they added, if I could interview them, and I would love to, actually. I might try to reach out. I would ask them, what was the last thing you added? Because, I don't know. Feels like the game was already kind of there, but it's like there's there's so many little features and details that we just talked about that I feel like they probably already thought through.
Try to get an interview with them.
Also, maybe they're fucking lazy too. Who fucking knows?
Maybe enjoying
the slow
$millions.
Process. I mean, one thing that is
sweet ass time.
One thing that is clear, as you said, Gene, is that when you get that revenue source, when Hollow Knight is throwing off some money for a long period of time, you have a lot less stress on when exactly you have to release your game, right? We saw this with Hello Games and using the No Man's Sky money to essentially keep their studio afloat while not selling anything for however long it's been now, because of all that money they made at the front end. So more power to the indies doing that, using the money from a successful launch and taking whatever time they need to keep doing things that they're doing. I think Team Cherry's a good shout out for Keep It Up. Clearly, they've got something going that a lot of people really like.
Yeah, Hollow Knight had a long tail that gave them a steady, and it started to really come in through 2018, 2019, I think, where people really started to kind of discover the game. So they were lucky in that they didn't just get a windfall of millions of dollars right away. They didn't just sell 50 million right away. It was just steady and steady. So they have a luxury that a lot of studios don't get to do, and of course they're so small that they can just have that money. It's way different than Naughty Dog selling 15 million steadily over 8 years, whereas Naughty Dog you have to pay several hundred employees at least $100,000 a year each time. You need a couple $1 million to even keep the studio running, which is why, again, they're making all these remakes. We complain about the Last of Us remakes, and it's like the Last of Us remakes are keeping that studio open 1 year at a time. That's what it is,
All right. And from you, Hoeg, I forgot. Did you keep it?
No, not technically. I was going to say keep it up to Konami, which is a name I never thought I would say keep it up to after the last couple of years. But I love Suikoden. I love Metal Gear. And I've been really enjoying the Delta remaster project, whatever you want to call it. Sure. And so I would like to see Konami continue to reach back into the vault and bring back what was, as it turns out, as I reflect on things, some of my favorite games that I ever played. So you were talking about Symphony of the Night earlier. I would love to see Vandal Hearts brought back. I would love to see all of these things that Konami
Vandal
did.
Hearts, dude. Yeah.
Just keep going. Suikoden, Metal Gear. I think based on what I've seen reported, at least, the Metal Gear Delta project is successful enough that we're likely to see the glow ups of other Metal Gear games. I had really honestly forgotten how much I love Metal Gear until I was popping back into Delta and saying, oh yeah, this is something special. We don't have a lot of games that hit this particular spot in stealth action. And I would love to see them bring Metal Gear 1, Metal Gear 2, Metal Gear 4 maybe up to speed. I think 4 is still trapped on the PlayStation 4, right?
Yes.
So that would be really cool. And I think Konami's going to do that. They're going to mine some of their old library for these things. So yeah, keep it up. I don't love remakes and remasters across the industry is the only thing that we get. Naughty Dog, I would love to see a new thing from you. I'm looking forward to, what is it, Intergalactic? Is that the name?
Yes.
I'm looking forward to seeing that. But for this older stuff, yeah, glow some stuff up, Konami. Keep it coming. I want to see it. I will play it. I will pay for Metal Gear again, clearly, because I've loved Delta this fall as much as anything else I've played.
Yeah, we need the Volume 2 collection. That's what I really need. So we can get MGS4 off PS3. Enough. Let us play that on anything modern. All right. Anything else, Gene, from you, or you want to good to move on?
Gosh. How about this? How about a quick keep it up to Jeff Keighley?
Yeah.
Yeah, his dad just died, so rest in peace to him. More power to him. That's very, very sad. But also, the guy's been working hard, and it is September. I know for a fact that he is busting his ass to make this Game Awards an awesome show. And I think by all the indicators, even without him, like the Game Awards this year would be an interesting show because there's so many great games. So. Keep it up, Jeff. If you don't listen to this, but if you ever do, I'm cheering for you, man.
Hey, Jeff, you're welcome on the show anytime. So
yeah, come on the show. Hey, why
Jeff.
not? One thing I like about Jeff Keighley is that he actually plays games. Yeah,
he does.
He actually, and I've talked behind the scenes, and he can talk about games. He can talk in detail about mechanics and how a game feels. He's legit. He's a gamer. He's a true gamer. So.
Yeah.
I don't think he's done it in years, or at least not one that I can remember as well as they used to in years past. But I used to love the Game Awards kind of, this is gaming, maybe 2 or 3 minute sizzle trailer thing that they would do at the start of their show, where it really did feel like that was the year of games and all these awesome things happened. And I miss that. I think that was a really cool part of what I very gently call the Keighleys at the end of the year.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, this is from Michael Lamaru. Hey boys, keep it up GeForce Now. For $20 a month, I can play almost all major releases through streaming on my 4K Samsung TV. Cronos and Mafia both look fantastic, and the new 5080 update launches this week. You can easily sync your Steam and Game Pass accounts through it for high-quality gaming if you have an internet connection and a TV that supports it. That is a whole different world I am not a part of, but... cool to hear it's working out well for a lot of people. That's good stuff.
Well, we're definitely moving away from boxes under TVs. So I'm glad it's working for a lot of people. Happening.
All right, this is from Raisin. What's up, my summoners with the hard R? Whoa. I'd like to give a keep it up to expansions. Disney Dreamlight Valley announced the Wish Blossom Ranch expansion for this coming November. For the last 3 years, Gameloft has launched a paid expansion around November. These yearly expansions have proven to be great birthday gifts for my mom. She loves the game. She's closing in on 1,000 hours in the game. I tapped out at 120. I just want to give a big old keep it up to the expansion. What are some of y'all's favorite expansions? Favorite expansions? Wrath of the Lich King in World of Warcraft days was real good when it came out. That was a big one.
I was going to say, in my head, I think of Blizzard. So I was thinking of the Kerrigan expansion to StarCraft, whose name I can't remember.
Was it Brood War for StarCraft 1?
Brood War, that's it. Yep. Absolutely great. And then the Mountain one from Diablo 2. Those are the ones I think of. So sorry about not knowing the titles, but I did enjoy those expansions.
What was it? Was it Lord's Destruction, or was that just Diablo 2 itself? I didn't play Diablo when it came out. I don't know. Lord of Destruction, maybe it is?
I think that sounds right.
Yeah, maybe that's it. I'm not sure. But yeah, good expansions. Of course, I think are from software ones as well. Very prominent expansions. Child of the Earth Tree, Old Hunters, Artorias of the Abyss. Good stuff. Gene, what about you? Any favorite expansions you can think of?
You named them all, you know?
Okay.
Yeah. Old Hunters, it's just a basic answer. Old Hunters.
They're just that good, though.
When I think about the best DLC, I do kind of my brain defaults to Old Hunters.
I thought for sure you'd go with, and I can't remember the name of this, Future Imperfect. One of the
Xenoblade.
Oh my god! Hey, thank you. Future Redeemed for Xenoblade Chronicles 3.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That one is maybe less so because like feature wise, like it doesn't have New Game Plus, which is annoying, and it doesn't have a physical game. But as a story expansion, I do consider it the best story expansion of all time.
Wow.
It is part of what makes the Xenoblade Chronicles saga so special.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for reminding me of that. But Old Hunters also, but my brain defaults to Old Hunters because the gameplay, it just enhances the gameplay so much because you get so many fucking cool weapons in there, man. Like,
Yeah, true.
Like as great as the Future Redeemed, like this again, this is how much I consider gameplay over story. As great as a Future Redeemed story is, I still think about the proper Moonlight Sword in Old Hunters and like all these other different weapons and the new hunters that you can fight in that and the bosses. I mean, I could talk about I have been talking about Old Hunters for years.
Now this writing did give me an idea, Brad.
Mm-hmm.
If you were looking for a penalty and Colin wasn't agreeing with anything else, you could say Disney Dreamlight Valley hours.
There you go.
Could count, right? You add it to Kingdom Hearts, obviously a Disney play, but Dreamlight Valley is a pretty good farming life type game, but not one that I think Colin would gravitate to on his own.
Well, the thing about Colin is I'm just more worried about him just wiggling out of doing anything. And him just kind of refusing. Like, what am I going to tell him to do? He's my boss. I can't make him do anything. So
4 hours of Dreamlight Valley, and you
see.
have to be accompanied by Donald Duck the whole time.
Yeah. So the audience will have to hold him accountable more than I can. Okay,
Isn't that always the way?
Yes, this is from Marcus. Keep it up to the Yakuza Lord Gene. Just like Maddie's channel, Retro Rebound, covering older games. It was dope to see Gene turn around on Hollow Knight many years later with an incredible review on the Washington Post. I hope Gene will continue to do some retrospective reviews in the future and bring to light pieces of art that maybe Washington Post readers never knew about. Congratulations to all the hard work and the entire LSM crew, always bringing great energy. Bonus DLC, keep it up to all the fans that turned up for Silksong and crashed every storefront. Hey, Gene, getting some love for your review. Very nice.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Do you want to do more retro reviews in the future?
Kind of. It kind of opened up the door a little bit, right? Now that I'm really, really kind of playing around with, playing games later. Mind's Eye came out later too, and that review did well. So I think it definitely kind of opened the lane up for me kind of going back to certain games,
Gene, I was going to ask you about the Mind's Eye review, and maybe this is better offline. You can let me know on that. Did you get any contact or commentary from Leslie Benzies himself on that since it went so hard?
Nope, not at all.
Interesting.
Yeah, I would love that. That's fine,
I wouldn't say that you wouldn't. I'm always surprised by how many of the principles I talk about online wind up calling me. And your review of Mind's Eye was so notable in directly attaching Mr. Benzies to the less than stellar reception of the game that I thought he might reach out.
I mean, he fucking attached himself, first of all.
He did, absolutely.
I'm just reacting to him doing that. But secondly, I would love that. I would love if he did that, and it wouldn't be the first time. Probably the most notable one is I wrote an article that, of course, some of you may remember when Hawaii got the nuclear missile alert. That everyone in the state got an alert that they were about to be nuclear bombed, and it turned out to be a dumbass employee that just pressed the wrong button that told everybody that they were about to get nuked. And then that employee had made similar issues before, and they just didn't fire him. So I wrote a whole column about how the state government in Hawaii always rewards incompetency. There's a lot of failing up in the government, where even if you fail, you just get moved around, like the Catholic Church with abusers, right? just shift movement and move people around and reassign people, you know. And so I wrote a whole column, you know, the fact that I worked in the state government for a little bit, the fact that I covered the state government for a lot, I felt like I had a lot, I had enough to say about how the government is full of incompetent people. And then so the governor of Hawaii wrote a whole column in response to that, attacking me, and which is funny because we used to be friends, and then and attacking me, and he submitted to the Washington Post, and the Washington Post told him no, we're not going to run this, because it didn't address any of my claims. All he talked about was, you know, his run as a governor. You know, it was just an opportunity to flex how good he is as a governor. And it's like, dude, I wasn't even fucking talking about you, bro. I was talking about like the culture in general, you know, the primordial soup of incompetency, you know. It wasn't your fault, you know. You don't have to take it personal. It is Leslie Benzie's fault from Mind's Eye. So
yeah,
shout out to you, Benzies.
Shout out, Benzie. All right, time for a game recommendation from the audience for the audience. This is from Adam Belharby. Hey, Brad, Gene, and Hoeg. With all the talk about Silksong, I have a rather unexpected 2D game recommendation. It baffles me how the wider gaming space doesn't talk about Terraria when discussing games. It's a gamer-ass game. And I'd go so far as to say that it would be hard to argue that it isn't the greatest 2D game of all time. The way the loot, exploration, and progression all mesh together is insane when considering the amount of content you can experience in a single playthrough. No other game puts me in a trance like Terraria does. It's digital crack brimming with soul. I played Terraria years ago, and it was cool. It's like, when I played it, it reminded me of like a 2D Minecraft, a lot of kind of stuff. Digging.
That's what I think of it as.
Base building, all that kind of stuff. So it's a cool game, but I just think maybe a lot of people just don't care for those types of games, maybe. I'm not sure, but Terraria is a humongous game. Very popular game, so I feel like it gets its flowers. But maybe that's just me. All right.
I think there's a fair number of PC or PC-focused games that are very well loved by a audience that is actually substantial in size, but doesn't take over kind of the zeitgeist cultural conversation that we talk about here in this space or other spaces, because of the way that those games are focused on specific gameplay elements or more PC-focused enjoyment. So I have no doubt that Terraria is as good as this person says. I've popped into it a couple of times, but in order to get invested in these games, you kind of have to learn them and master their systems. And if you're not going to do that, you don't get that same experience. And so it doesn't wind up being, you know, we are niche when we talk about things here on Last Stand Media, but we're still the most popular, most dialogued things in this niche space are the ones that are going to get covered here. So I think there is a whole layer of games that are awesome that people don't talk about enough.
Yeah.
Because you niche down from the niche and you don't have enough people to actually engage with them on the space that you want to.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to our next game, which is Cronos, the New Dawn. Gene, you've been playing a little bit of this. I'm very curious about this game.
Yeah, well, as I mentioned earlier, my priority has been Silksong.
Yeah.
So I did play maybe 3 hours of Cronos.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, totally.
Very, very early on, but I do have some strong impressions. I even took notes for this one too.
Oh, okay.
What I will say off the top is that, well, first of all, Cronos is the latest game by Bluebird Team, the beleaguered creators of survival horror games, where they have made some of the worst survival horror games of all time. And then they made Silent Hill 2 Remake, which was pretty good, right? They were able to trace within the lines of a game and also color it in and add their own flavor. I had my own issues with Silent Hill 2 that are not present in Cronos.
Oh.
Actually, the New Dawn. I will go as far as to say that as so far from what I played, Cronos the New Dawn seems like a much more honest and true survival horror experience than Silent Hill 2 Remake was. Sure. It is a better survival horror game.
Mm-hmm.
One, because my God, the resources are very, very limited. In Silent Hill 2, you get ammo up the ass, you know. And I do think that Silent Hill 2's ammo dump is thematic, and I won't spoil that game, but you know I do think that there is a reason for that, right? But as a gameplay experience, it doesn't feel that survival horror. You're just kind of going through the story, and it's very actiony, right? Silent Hill 2 remake, I can say that much. In Silent Hill 2 remake, it's so much action. You know, James Sunderland is combat dodging and blah blah blah. All this. The character, who I don't believe has a name in Cronos, we'll just call her Cronos Girl because it is a girl. It is a woman. Doesn't do that at all. She's very, very slow. She's very cumbersome. And my God, you barely get any ammo. I can't remember the last game where I ran out of ammo this much. That's pretty much where it's at. It's a little bit like Signalis, a little bit, because Signalis, I also ran out of ammo constantly. So I find myself literally, once again, running from enemies, where I'm like, oh my God, I'm back turned the corner. Here comes the enemy. Let me juke to the right, and I'll juke them to the left and run past them. And I do. And I'm like, whew, now I got to start running. Run, get through the door. Oh my God, they're right behind me. True survival horror experience. Shockingly. Really, really good, actually. Lot of resource management. Another interesting thing is that, as I said, also there's a crafting system too. So it's very much, again, like, so it's mixing Dead Space, Resident Evil, and maybe a little bit of what they learned in Silent Hill, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But the action combat is interesting too, because it is also, again, very survival horror like. It's not like Dead Space where you're just like shooting pew, 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 and shooting off limbs or anything like that. What's different about this game is that your gun, you can just shoot a gun, you can shoot a bullet, right? That bullet will barely do anything to the monster. It might stop them for a second, and that could give you some time to move, right? Or what you really want to do is you need to hold the fire trigger button down, and you need to aim, and you need to release, and that will help you save ammo because that'll do way more damage to the enemy. So you need to be doing that all the time. So again, that adds to this tension of survival horrorness, where it's like, well, I can't just blast away. I need to actually like consider move back, and aim carefully while I'm charging up, and then let go, and then make sure I make that one bullet count. Really, really fucking hard, because after like 1 or 2 bullets, the enemy will go down. Versus me shooting regular bullets, and I pump the entire clip into them, and they still haven't died yet. So I gotta reload. You know, really, really, really interesting to learn that the game is like that. That said, it's also very basic. I also think it moves a lot better than Silent Hill 2 Remake. Silent Hill 2 Remake, he only had 2 moving speeds, walk and run, which is very strange for a survival horror game, I think. Just locked into 2 different speeds. Whereas in Cronos, you can definitely just tilt the analog stick softly, and she'll just, a Cronos girl, Jane Cronos, will just walk very, very slowly too. And that, again, adds to that tension of the atmosphere and everything like that. And this is taking place in post-apocalypse Poland, and Cronos girl is working for some company who is deployed to this wasteland of Poland, and you know, Bloober Team is in Poland too. So shout out to them again. Keep it up to them for keeping it within their culture, right? It's really nice to see when a studio just leans into their culture, and they're not just Japanese, because Japan does that all the time too, and America does that all the time too, right? So it's nice to see a Bloober Team kind of lean to their strengths and what they know. But you're down in this area, and you're basically trying to figure out what happened here. And there's a that's kind of like the nice mystery of the game, and I don't know what's going on, but like you're here on behalf of some company that we don't know anything about, to try to figure out what's going on here. And when you find out the audio logs and everything, it's very simple, basic post-apocalyptic stuff. And maybe there's a twist later that'll hit. But right now, so far, very run-of-the-mill post-apocalyptic stuff, but it's cozy, it's interesting, and it's also creepy, it's scary, you know. It's tense.
Sorry. That button.
But there's no dodge. There's just no dodge button at all. Whereas in Silent Hill 2 Remake, he could just like you just like duck and cover and just like weave in and out of like his Muhammad Ali, whatever, trying to avoid the rope-a-dope, which is crazy. So I actually think Cronos would have been a better version of Silent Hill 2 remake. Also, the level design is actually pretty good. The way these buildings and locations kind of wrap around, the way that you have to find different keys. Again, very, very standard survival horror stuff, but it's done well, you know? And that's probably the best thing I could say about Silent Hill 2 Remake is that the level design, like in the apartment complex in the hospital in that game, was done very well. They actually have really, really good chops in terms of how to create levels and areas and buildings that really loop around, that stay interesting, that are notable enough. Again, like a Metroidvania, really, where you're able to kind of, oh, I got this key, I got this fuse, let me go back and do this. You know, you're finding passcodes in audio logs, and you're using them to unlock doors. Again, very, very bog standard Silent Hill survival horror game. But it feels like this was another game that the Bluebird team was using to train themselves on how to make a good game. And I think they did make another good game.
Okay.
Now, Gene,
that's pretty much what I can say so far.
With a name like Cronos, and this is the thing that was most exciting to me about the project, it would seem like time travel plays a major factor.
Yes.
How much time travel's in the game?
The time traveling is a story aspect where you kind of go back in time and figure out what happens. I'm not that far into the game to see to see whether that actually impacts the gameplay, but it is part of the mystery solving process in terms of piecing together what happened in Poland, basically.
I do love time travel. That's why I ask.
Yeah. So that's why the story is like bog standard, but there are enough hooks there to kind of keep me interested. There's enough narrative hooks there that I'm like, I'm actually once I'm done with Silksong, I wasn't that interested in Cronos, although I was interested in Cronos. But now that I played a little bit of it, I'm like, okay, now I actually do want to find out what's going on here, and I hope it doesn't disappoint me. But at the same time, as I'm experiencing it, I get to experience a nice, familiar survival horror game that feels like a Resident Evil. It does feel like a lesser version of Resident Evil 2 Remake or Dead Space. Again, Dead Space is a lot more actiony, and even it's probably closer to Resident Evil 2 Remake in terms of action. You know, it's very slow pace and like the drip feed of zombies and everything. Versus Dead Space will lock you in these combat arenas and it will flood you and swarm you with enemies, and you have a lot of ammo. You have fucking machine guns in Dead Space, right? And bombs, whereas you don't really have that in Cronos. But you do have a stomp, and you do have melee attack. And you are stomping away at crates to collect more ammo and energy and stuff like that too. So again,
classic,
very, very familiar, but it is a nice fusion of classic survival horror and some of that Dead Space feeling mixed with the Polish culture stuff. So pretty interesting stuff. It's a good survival horror game.
Cool.
So far, a solid 6.5 or 7 out of 10, I would say.
Okay, yeah, I want to check this out probably sometime in October.
Halloween, yeah. It'll be the thing is it's not even that scary, you know. There's nothing that'd be like, oh my god, I'm so creeped out, you know.
Right.
What is the atmosphere? No, it's atmosphere is a little boring, you know. Hell is Us is I play less of Hell is Us, and Hell is Us is way more interesting as an environment, you know.
Okay.
But you know, it plays good, you know.
Yeah.
Bluebird team does in fact know how to make a decent game now. I can say that much, at least so far.
That's good to hear.
So keep it up to Bluebird team.
Yeah.
You're doing fine.
You're getting better.
Yeah. But that said, though, you know, and again, it depends on how much the game will shape out, you know. It also shows that Bluebird team is not a very original studio. Like they don't have a lot of original ideas. They'll take from something else and they'll do a little twist on it, you know. Here's the medium. It's like Silent Hill, but with a twist. Way shittier, you know. And here's Silent Hill 2 Remake, and I think I still have my problem with that game is that it was way too fucking long and there was way too much action.
It was too long.
Way too long.
Yeah, it's a long game. Yeah.
But otherwise, it was a good game, and it showed promise in level design. I think is bearing out in Cronos, and obviously, I think both of these games were being made around the same time. So it kind of shows that they were really learning from like throughout the development. I think so. Yeah.
Silent Hill 2 convinced me to follow them. I did not like their earlier work. I was never convinced on Layers of Fear. I know a lot of people like Layers of Fear. That never worked for me so much. But Silent Hill 2 Remake was the one where I said, okay, they can do some stuff. And I'm glad to hear that post-apocalyptic time-traveling Poland is at least worth considering. I agree with Brad. This was one of those that was a casualty of this week. There was just so much stuff that came out this week. Yeah. And I said, that's an October game for me. That's just the brain space I will be in October. So a lot of the times there'll be a sale on those kinds of games in October. Sorry, devs. Sorry, Bloober team. But that's how I look at these releases. And so I will probably play it then and not right now.
Yeah. Too much shit right now.
Yeah. I would like to. I have it on PS5. I got a review code for it, by the way. So, disclosure for that, I guess. I bought Silksong.
Yeah.
I won't turn into the FTC, Gene.
Yeah. Well, I as a journalist, I actually don't have to do that at all, which is nice. The creators have to do that for some reason, but the not journalists, we don't have to do that at all.
Yeah.
That's actually an interesting legal question because it would depend on whether people saw you primarily as a video game reviewer or a journalist for the Washington Post. Because the question there is whether a reasonable person would assume that whatever you're talking about got the copy for free. I actually had this argument with Ryan McCaffrey at IGN on Twitter a couple of years ago because they did a review of the Galactic Star Cruiser, the Star Wars hotel that was comped. That was comped, and I had said, "Well, you got to disclose the comp." And he said, "Well, no, we're journalists and all these things." I was like, "Yeah, you're a journalist that sells video game reviews, not hotel reviews," and so that became a whole thing. But I'm not giving legal advice out on Twitter, folks.
Well, first of all, what are you, some kind of lawyer or something? But secondly, I would actually be interested in following that old conversation because my biggest beef with IGN is that they do take free trips all the time. And Colin has admitted this as much himself, too. He used to take free trips all the time, which is why I feel like it's so weird that he doesn't take advertising for Last Stand Media. It's like, where the fuck did this journalistic ethics come from? Because you certainly didn't have an IGN.
Well, he wasn't running the show at IGN, so this might be the way he always wanted to run the show. You don't know.
Maybe. But he never seemed to have a problem with it though. Whenever he talks about it, and IGN people definitely don't seem to have a problem with it. The
interesting thing about those standards, right, is it's going to be a floating scale, right? It's what a reasonable person can expect. So if all of the video game outlets are getting hotels in the UK to get specialty, Call of Duty experiences where they get to play the game and do whatever they're doing in a 5-star London resort, if that becomes the standard that people can expect, you don't have a separate kind of disclosure or legal obligation with respect to those things. So it becomes a sliding scale where once everybody kind of agrees that this is what we're going to do, we're allowed to do it. And if you're a black sheep, you're going to get in trouble for doing the things that other people aren't doing. But if you get this kind of critical mass, the reasonability standard is going to protect you in most cases.
Yeah. But it definitely goes against the code of ethics for the Society of Professional Journalism, which isn't binding. There's no legal binding to that, right? It is a set of guidelines, but you're not supposed to take free shit, I could have gone to Tokyo and be booked up in a hotel to play Death Stranding 2 and hang out with Hideo Kojima for 5 days, right? And they would have paid for all of that, and I had to say no because one, the Post can't afford it, and two, I can't take that, Again, when I went to go cover Super Nintendo World down at the Universal Orlando, they were going to give that room for free, and I had to stop them and tell me, I will not leave this premises until you charge me for the room. Otherwise, I will leave and book myself a Holiday Inn or something, and try to figure out coming back to this resort every day, right? So please start charging me for this hotel.
Yeah.
And that's. That's why I thought when Gamergate happened, and I was so offline, I really thought Gamergate was about ethics in journalism. And I'm sure that, and I know that it started out that way, right? So back in 2012, when that was happening, I was like, oh, wow, this Gamergate stuff is really, really like good. It's good. It's good for the industry. I'm glad we're having this conversation. I used to say that without knowing that there was all kind of harassment happening because I was always against this idea that you need to be getting a free hotel stays. Free games you need free games. Nobody can just buy every game a year. And there is a standard for that where you get to go to movie premieres, and you get to watch that. Those are costs that are just more throwaway items. Like as a journalist, I could accept water from a source. If Phil Spencer wanted to buy me a water or a cookie, like that's fine. If he wanted to take me out to a Michelin star restaurant, that is not fine, and I need to pay for that myself, or I need to tell my work about it.
Mm-hmm.
There is a sliding scale, but getting booked up in that fucking Star Wars hotel that costs like thousands of dollars.
Yeah,
that is across the ethical line. They should have disclosed that, and
well, that's what I said.
That's why people don't trust games journalists, because the peak standard of games journalism, IGN, does not give a shit about ethics. Period. They don't. Colin never did.
Well, I'll give Ryan the benefit of the doubt and say that he really did think that he didn't have a disclosure obligation.
Yes, because they're not fucking journalists. That's why. That's the thing. That's why they think they're part of the games industry. Oh my god, our industry. Think about the devs, though. You're not fucking part of the devs. You're not part of the games industry.
Damn, that was good. That'd be good sorted out, dude. I like that.
It's a general sorted out to games media, which is why I don't like calling myself, I'm not a games journalist. I don't call myself part of the games media. Also, fuck the games media. They fucking hate me too, right?
Mm-hmm.
They all fucked off to Blue Sky, which I love. I saw a joke that says Blue Sky is playing easy social media on easy mode.
Yeah.
Whereas that's of course why all the games journalists went there, first of all.
Yeah.
But this is why I don't consider myself part of the games media, because you guys get all free shit all the time. All I get are free games and a free console. That's it. Shit that I buy anyways, or I would buy anyways.
Right.
But they all took trips to Kojima Studio, and they all got the free trip there.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't do that. Scale Up does that. IGN does that.
Yeah.
Game Informer does that.
Yeah, I never liked calling myself a game journalist, even when I was at Easy Allies. I was like, critic. I'll go by that more.
Yeah.
It's like,
culture critic.
I wasn't fucking doing journalism. Wasn't doing any of that shit. Or like real journalism, I guess. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever, dude. It's a whole mess.
But these guys like to pretend to be journalists and then
I think it's one thing to pretend to be a journalist and say you're one, then to go around and don't act like actually one.
Exactly. Like you don't really live by the principles, which is fine. That's just what games media is then, Mm-hmm. And like to your point, Hoeg, that's what games media is. People just do that, but it's something that I don't want to be a part of,
Yeah. No, I get that. I think we don't take free shit as a totally acceptable position to have.
Mm-hmm.
It is definitely not shared across the industry, as you say.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
All right. Last game on the list, Horizon Chase Turbo.
Yes.
Oh,
a little game that
looks like Outrun.
These games, Hoeg?
I make these in my spare time. I just make tiny games and put them out there in the world. And
that's a great name, though. Horizon Chase Turbo. I love that. Let me look that up right now.
It's a terrible name. Nobody can ever remember this sequence of words after I say it out loud.
Oh, this looks fucking dope, dude. Are you fucking kidding me?
It is awesome. This game is awesome. And this goes back to a story I think I've told people about how much I love my Switch 2, which is that when the Switch 2 came out, the Nintendo upgraded their eShop experience. And one of the upgrades that they made was this, what I call the Saturday algorithm, where every Saturday they give you a dozen or so new games that you probably missed because there's however many thousand releasing on the eShop any given day. And they go by what you've played and what you've kind of hovered on when you've been in the eShop. And they put together this list of things that you might be interested in, whether or not it's popular because of other people playing it, whether it's on sale, whether you've otherwise indicated an interest in these things. And I love racing games. And Horizon Chase Turbo is an up-jumped mobile game. I believe it was App Arcade a number of years ago. That one, and this is important, I always like to say this, plays great on Switch, or at least it plays great on Switch 2. It's a Switch game, but you do get the loading time upgrades and things when you play it on your Switch 2. So I'm playing it on my Switch 2. It is a kind of parallax racer like Outrun or like Top Gear from back in the SNES days where, you're immediately plunged into the back of a 20 car pack, and you have to make your way to the front by the end of 3 laps kind of racing experience. But it's got really simple, cool graphics that will put you in places around various points in the world. Like there are 3 tracks in San Francisco, and there's 3 tracks in Los Angeles, and there's 3 tracks in Sao Paulo, and these kinds of things. It's got, I think, maybe 100 or more tracks in it. It's primarily around dealing with sharp turns and passing cars over the course of these laps. But I have loved trying to advance my car, get the upgrades that I need to get, and then going back and getting gold trophies when I couldn't get gold trophies before. And then what this game also has is coins and fuel to collect that are just floating above the track. And you need to get all the coins and finish first to get a quote unquote super trophy. So there's constant things to be aimed at to increase your garage of cars. There's a DLC that I got called Summer Vibes that I really love, which essentially puts you in the Outrun car, the convertible where you can see both people's heads. And
so fucking cool.
The music is straight out of Top Gear or those older 16-bit games, and is just a jam to enjoy. So this is a game, I always have a game that I'm playing when I don't want to think about things too much, when I just want to vibe and I just want to play something. Horizon Chase Turbo is exactly what I was looking for to fill that void. I don't have a ton to say about it other than it does exactly what it says on the tin. It looks great in my opinion, but the graphics are very simplistic for the year 2025. But if you're interested in racing fast, hitting top speeds, listening to cool tunes, and always having something to go after, whether it's an upgrade for your car, a new car, more trophies, or what have you, it has, I don't even know how many countries across its world tour mode. And it has to be more than 100 racetracks to go learn. And you're always kind of mastering these tracks in order to get to that next personal record, to get to that gold, and then to figure out where the coins are so that you can get the coins and the gold. And I just absolutely love it. There is a sequel to this game called Horizon Chase Turbo 2. I know, very innovative. It actually plays substantially differently. It is also quite good, but it tries to be a little bit more what I will call a real racing game. A little bit less cars attached to the lanes on the road when you're making the turns, and a little bit more dynamic. It also, I don't know how to describe it, increases the resolution, makes the graphics a little bit more detailed. So it gets into this weird uncanny valley. It's never going to look like, Horizon, the Forza series on your mainline consoles. But Horizon Chase Turbo 2, in my opinion, maybe gets into a uncomfortable place of being more than the more Gorad shaded flat panel racing of the first, but definitely not anywhere near a AAA racer. So I'm going to recommend the first one with its more tracks and racing that I think is a little bit better. But if you get either one of these, I think you're going to be happy. I think I bought both of them when they were on sale for less than $20. So you can wait out a sale if you just want to wish list it on your Switch or anywhere else that you're following these games. But I think even at full price, they're $20 and $25 a piece.
Yeah.
So if you like the sound of any of that, give it a look-see. I can guarantee that it does what it says, and it's very fun, and it performs great on the Switch, or at least the Switch 2 playing a Switch game.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks for talking about this game, man.
I love it. One of my favorite finds of the year.
So I'm looking at the Wikipedia right now, and the soundtrack was composed by Barry Leitch, Leitch, and he did the soundtrack to the 1992 Super Nintendo game Top Gear, which I do remember.
Yep.
And
this is Top Gear.
Top Gear, yeah. And apparently that game was very, very popular in Brazil, and that's why these Brazilian developers reached out to him to kind of tap into their childhood. That's fucking awesome, man.
They have a DLC. Story. They have a DLC to this game that features F1 racing and a very popular Brazilian driver that I wasn't familiar with named Senna. And if you get that DLC, you can play a version of this game where you have F1 teams and you have to go and make it through a season, and it's a almost completely different way to play it. Just a great package. I do not regret any dollar I have spent on all of the Horizon Chase Turbo stuff I have gotten. But completely unexpected. Thank you very much to the Wizards at Nintendo for making me spend more money than I anticipated when I got my Switch 2, for having these algorithms say, hey, you might like this. I have gotten maybe a half dozen games now through that process, which I was very surprised to enjoy as much as I have. Horizon Chase Turbo being the top.
Cool. Very nice. All right, boys, let's end the show with some write-ins from the audience. If you want to write into this show, I post a thread every Saturday calling for your submissions, so keep an eye out there on our Patreon. This is from Jamie. Hi, Summoners. This one is for everyone and possibly a new short segment. It's called This Game or That Game. I'll name 2 games, and the panel decides which one they would rather play if they can only play one. Let's assume / pretend that all the games named are easily accessible on current hardware, and try to take out biases like, oh, I haven't played that one in a while, so I'll choose that one. The 2 games are The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess or The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Have a great day. I'll hang up and listen. Ooh, what a question. Gene, what are you picking? Twilight Princess or Breath of the Wild? You can only play one.
Like ever, or just like right now? Like
I think
it's
ever.
unspecified.
Unspecified. I mean, like right now it'd be Twilight Princess because I haven't, because like I really want to play Twilight Princess right now.
Mm-hmm.
Ever, it would still be Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild is top 2 favorite games of all time. Maybe top 3.
Mm-hmm.
Down in Tears of the Kingdom. So yeah, as much as I love Twilight Princess, and I think it's one of the better Zelda games in the series. Breath of the Wild is still king. So yeah, that's it for me.
Hoeg.
Yeah, I thought this was going to be really easy for me and go with Breath of the Wild. I probably still will wind up there, but I have to admit I miss dungeons. I missed a full-on Zelda dungeon.
I want to play it now. I want to, I would absolutely choose Twilight Princess now for sure. I miss dungeons too.
Yeah, so I think Breath of the Wild is the one I want to keep because that was the one that was the most instantly interesting in design space for me. But I do miss dungeons. I really do.
Yeah, I think I would pick Twilight Princess just the fact that I'd rather play Tears of the Kingdom. I think in pretty much most scenarios against Breath of the Wild.
Okay, well, if Tears exists, then yeah, fine.
Yeah, it does. You just pick one, you know what I mean? Yeah. And Twilight Princess is one of my favorite Zelda games ever. Like, I love that game so much. So I'd probably pick that, but they're both fantastic video games. All right, this is from the Uncharted Wolf. What's up, Summoners? Would you guys say you enjoyed playing games at this point in your life more than you ever had before? If not, at what point in your life did you enjoy playing games the most? What about the time you enjoyed playing games the least? At 23, I noticed myself getting more engrossed in the hobby than ever before. So I'm curious if you guys are the same, or if things were better back in the day. All right. Time period. When have we preferred playing games the most?
This is a fun question. So I guess this guy's 23. I guess also when I was 23,
sure,
in my 20s, that was peak gaming. I think. I really do think that peak gaming was when I was unemployed for 6 months, living in my friend's garage in Huntington Beach, and all we had was a PS2, a Dreamcast, and a GameCube. All the systems, obviously. And Xbox, of course. And I just hung out in my room, aka the garage, smoke weed every day, just fucking eat some Schlotzsky sandwiches, get some Schlotzskys and just hang out and just game all day. And then once I finally got a job in my early 20s, that's when Halo 3 and Metal Gear Solid 3 came out, all that stuff. Like, honestly, you guys don't know, people in your 20s right now. You guys don't know what peak gaming really looks like. Actually, you don't. You don't actually. You don't have constant games that are changing the reality of games and storytelling every year, every few months. Like we did back in the day. Yeah, it's like saying, a band now is better than Led Zeppelin or something. It's just not. So
yeah,
and it's a great time to play games right now. I'm probably playing more games than I ever have. That's for damn sure. One part of it is because it's my job now. So I can do that. I can, my editor is telling me, when are you going to finish Silksong? Like, I had to respond to a message earlier. It's like, when do I plan to finish Silksong? I'm like, I'm not planning to finish Silksong. I'm trying to,
Right.
But yeah, definitely in the early 2000s was the best time. Halo 3 is probably like a good like time marker, or anything around Halo 3, because that was just really peak. Um, Wind Waker came out, Metroid Prime came out, all that stuff.
Yeah. Oh, what about you?
When I think about it, I really enjoyed the exploration of the CD-ROM format in like the mid 90s. I loved full motion video. I loved what that allowed game creators to kind of play with. I'm not saying the acting was great. I'm not saying the sets were awesome, but I loved kind of experiencing games kind of make choices based on what they could put on that CD-ROM. So I remember a lawyer game called District Attorney, where you would actually go through cases and you'd have little videos, everything you were dealing with at the time. I remember fondly the CDI and the 3DO for how they were messing with voice in games and putting videos in places that they wouldn't have otherwise been in before. And I do, here in 2025, miss some of the variety of the prior eras of video games, because we have gotten to certain kind of best practices in design that has kind of culminated in open world and quasi open world being the default setting for a lot of the stuff that we experience. And I do miss more strategy games, more adventure games, more full motion video games, just a weirder space a little bit. But I'm also cognizant enough of the fact that when I go and I look at games of the earlier eras, even with that variety, whether they're offered through, the Nintendo online emulators or somewhere else, that a lot of the things that were in these various generations, like Gene just mentioned, the GameCube, Dreamcast era, I didn't really connect with all that much. I'm glad they existed, but I'd rather not play Blue Stinger ever again. It just wasn't things that necessarily were the best to play. We really are in a setting in 2025 where we say some games are 6s or 7s or 5s or 4s, but like most of these games would have been at the top of the charts in terms of reviews and quality metrics had they released 25 years ago. And I know obviously that's because of the evolution of game design, but there were some really junky choices back in the day that I think get kind of halo affected out of existence when we think about those experiences that we had before. So I think honestly, right now, I can think of the last 3 years and just thinking, oh my God, I can't believe I'm going to play another game that I'm super enthused about this month, that I just finished one last month, or maybe didn't even finish. And we really are in a deluge of games right now that consistently interest me. And so I probably wouldn't change anything other than I have a lot more responsibility now. I have to keep the house up, to keep the kids fed, to keep the lights on, and all these various things that I didn't have to worry about when I was a kid. And I think some of this conversation is, wasn't it nice to be a kid, right?
Yeah.
Other people worried about these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reacting to what Hoeg said, my immediate thought is, I still like how games were back then, even if they were hit or miss, more hit or miss. They're less hit or miss now because so many games are just following the same game design principles.
The edges are completely polished off. Yeah.
So homogenized, so polished off. I just talked about Cronos and how I thought it was an interesting survival horror game. You know what would make it more interesting? If it wasn't an over the shoulder third person action game. If I wasn't comparing it to fucking Dead Space every other sentence, and of course Dead Space just copy Resident Evil 4. I'm tired of games just looking all the same. We just talked about Hell Is Us. You know what was interesting most about Hell Is Us? Not the camera angle. That was the thing that kind of turned me out the most. Oh, it's another Souls-like. Oh, I didn't know it was an adventure game. Why does it have to look like a Souls-like then?
It sure did look like a Souls game when it was first revealed.
Yeah. But back then, we would just have different camera angles, different ways to get games, different perspectives, But now it's all over the shoulder, camera slightly to the right, or first person, and first person is even going away a lot these days. It's only your Call of Duties and everything like that, and your Judases or whatever that's still keeping that candle. But so many games are just over the shoulder third person action games. Fucking why is Final Fantasy 16 over the shoulder third person action? Why the fuck is Clive to slightly to the left of the camera there? Why couldn't he be in the middle and the camera pulled out more? Why is God of War? Why is Kratos taking up 3/4 of the screen? Because Resident Evil 4 did it. you know.
And Shadow of the Colossus kind of did a lot of that perspective too to the side. For me, it's purely. I think back to it. It's like the PS1 and N64 era was kind of my favorite. Not to say that I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, games are so much better back in the day, because I love a lot of games today. A lot of it was being a kid and having time to do a lot of stuff and less responsibilities, and B, a lot of local co-op and like multiplayer was going down for me in that era.
Horizon Chase Turbo has local co-op. Just throwing it out there.
Wow.
And like all the friends would come over and stuff like that. We'd go to someone's house and everyone would be there. It was sick. It was just really fun, booting up Mario Kart 64 with a bunch of people, Smash rotating people in and out.
The latest WWE game.
Yeah, WWE. That stuff was all really fun to me. So I really liked all that kind of stuff. And I think some of it's just kind of like at that point, we were just in the 3D space for games mostly. So we were still kind of being blown away by a lot of 3D perspectives back then. So I think that was a lot of it as well, too.
All right, it's hard to get blown away now. That's the thing.
Sure, yeah. Like once in a while, something like blows you away in terms of like its design. But like from a visual standpoint, I guess, not so much anymore. Like it happens every now and then, but not like it used to. But I'm not saying it's a bad or good thing.
I can't really recall a game where I'm just like, oh man, like, it's probably, again, that's why like it's noticeable that this kid is 23 years old. It's like, is it just because when you're experiencing games in your 20s, that's when it's awesome? Because that's where I went back to, right?
Yeah.
Now I'm in my 40s. I'm just like, there's nothing really mind blowing anymore. Even Silksong, as much as I love it, I'm just like, Silksong is not Metal Gear Solid 1. Silksong is not Symphony of the Night. Maybe now as 23-year-old, if you went back to Symphony of the Night, you'd be like, I don't really understand the difference between. I don't really see the big deal. I'm tired of the glazing in Castlevania. And it's like, you weren't there in 1997, 1998 when this shit came out, Yeah. You don't understand how this actually changes the way your brain works,
It's so funny you say that, Gene, because one of the things I do with my girls when I'm trying to show them a retro game that I really love is I try to play a few games from that year or close to it that I also have access to so that they can see, all right, this is what Final Fantasy VII did. Okay, you just played Wild Arms. We just did these things. This is what comes out next. And to get that comparison rather than going from 16 to 7, right? Because that doesn't play as well.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, I think so.
All right, final write-in here is from Bleach on the Rocks. Hey, Summoners, are we losing iconic settings in games? I've noticed a lot of slop set dressing in video games lately. A lot of post-apocalyptic US generic sci-fi planets, and some whimsical fantasy worlds. What happened to settings like Rapture, the Ishimura, Spencer Mansion, Dracula's Castle, etc.? Why aren't developers spending more time fully realizing a setting that sticks with you for decades?
I really have to recommend Hell Is Us as a counterpoint to this particular comment, just because I think it is such an impressive space and that it immediately grabs you. It has a framing device as part of its narrative that you say, what in the heck is going on? Really love that. But I tend to agree, having watched Summer Game Fest and some of the other shows over the summer, there is a post-apocalyptic black goo, red monster, sloppy kind of Souls adjacent look that almost everything seems to be going for. And the sad part about that to me is that like Souls games in and of themselves, they don't have to just be that kind of feeling game, right? We have examples like The Surge and others where you don't have to play just in that space. But I do think that you have this kind of best practices amalgamation of flattening out of creative pursuits. And right now the game industry is going through one of those, I think hopefully short-term eras where everything has to be that same setting. And I think there will be other settings explored, but I think it's also important as part of this conversation to note that games don't just come out of a factory, right? I don't think we always give enough credit to the Ken Levines and the Hideo Kojimas and everyone else of the world that have their own idiosyncrasies that they bring directly to the game. And we think of these things as just popping out as if by magic. When War Inspector did what he did to get his games out in the way that they came out, that Hideo Kojima has that feeling, and some people get think he gets too much credit for it, but it is his feeling that even as I'm playing Delta, it's obvious how much Hideo Kojima is in that game. And I hope that we continue to see an industry where we get those kinds of, I think auteurs is a little bit glazing as a word, but that real kind of singular vision from a creative mind that leads these games into the future. I think we're getting less of that because games have gotten more expensive to make with the high resolution textures and everything else. And my hope, sincerely, with the contraction that the industry is going through right now, is that publishers and developers start to look at what they can do with more concentrated efforts in smaller teams. And if that does happen, you will get stronger voices from those smaller teams that have more specific settings and specific design elements and less generic, as this comment puts it, slop.
What do you think, Gene?
This is an interesting comment because I'm actually finding that Silksong is having like iconic locations. Actually, that is one thing Silksong is doing for me. In that, like, wow, this setting is really, really memorable. It's really, really interesting. It's so striking, and it does. I'm talking about oh my god, Symphony of the Night is some of the best. There are parts of Silksong where I'm just like, man, I haven't felt like this since Symphony of the Night. Actually, this location, this progression, and everything like that. But yeah, what Hoeg said is correct too, and what does Raiden is saying correct too. And I've been talking about it a lot actually. I am fucking tired of post-apocalypse worlds, and I understand that it is a video game like development limitation, in that you are probably making these worlds because it is easier than being a GTA 6 and having a whole ass Florida in your game with all of these different types of people, right? Versus Death Stranding 2, barely anyone, and everyone's fucking face is covered, right? But I do think that is a large reason why a lot of these games are being made, is because they're just easier to make, basically. Hell is Us is interesting, but it is also another post-apocalypse. Cronos is not a game that I recommend for an iconic setting. It's interesting, Poland, but what they do there so far hasn't been that great. Nothing like the RE2 police station, right? Raccoon City police station, and there's a reason why RE9 is going back to Raccoon City. Like,
yeah, no, it is. It's iconic.
Yeah, it's iconic. The village and the baker's house, or whatever, in 7 and 8, weren't as iconic as the Spencer Mansion and the RE2 police station. So just show a little bit of that police station, everyone just goes right back to it. Rapture is another great example too. Ishimura, great example too. I love the Ishimura, one of the best settings ever. It's just a spaceship, right? But even the name itself is awesome. But the tone of it is great.
It's like the rock cracker Ishimura, isn't it? It's one of the things I always remember about
Ishimura.
Planet Cracker. Thank you.
Yeah, such a good name. So evocative and effective. What are some interesting areas now? I'm trying to think. Even the lands between, I don't think is that iconic, honestly.
I love a lot of the stuff in that game, like location wise, like Volcano Manor. I think it's fucking awesome.
Oh yeah.
Stormhurst Castle. It's fucking great. I think Elden Ring actually has like a lot of really super memorable moments.
The magic school.
Yeah, Ray Lucaria. Yeah, I think there's a lot of actually really iconic things in there.
That's iconic.
What Bleach on Rocks is bringing up is interesting. Is a lot of these settings he's talking about is like the entire game takes place in these settings, like Rapture, BioShock's all in there. Dead Space, the entire game's in there. Spencer Mansion, pretty much all Resident Evil's in the Spencer estate. Dracula's Castle, of course. There's like a million versions of that kind of game and stuff like that. But
the Symphony of the Night was all Dracula's Castle, baby, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh,
twice.
Interesting. Okay. Well, thinking of the question that way makes it kind of more interesting than actually.
Like, the only other thing I would add to this is the list that he's calling out there, maybe a step past where those settings actually originally developed, right? We got Rapture, which is a play on Citadel Station from System Shock. Ishimura, I agree, is a great setting, but I mean, that's
also System Shock.
Yeah, that's System Shock, but also every other spaceship that appears in the event horizons of the world and everything in between. Spencer Mansion is what I remember thinking when I first played Resident Evil is a version of the Alone in the Dark house. I don't know what Dracula's Castle might relate to. Dracula's Castle is singular, realistically, in Symphony of the Night in particular. But I do think whenever we have these conversations, they always kind of pick a point in time when these things are happening. They're all part of an evolution across a lot of creative endeavors, in video games in particular here, the ones I just mentioned. But like this also happens in movies. This also happens in music, where you pick a point in time, but it's always related to something that came before. Everything is evolution when it comes to creative pursuits.
Yeah.
But even Columbia in Bioshock Infinite was pretty interesting too.
Yeah, I liked Columbia. I thought the location Columbia was cool.
I don't forget. Gosh, this is such an interesting question.
Well, it's even like on the level when I think about, like, let's say Gene, Tears of the Kingdom. Like, I can picture Kakariko Village in both versions.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's an iconic version of Kakariko Village to me. Hatano Village, something like that. I don't know. But there's so many games nowadays, I feel like it's easy. Like, there is a lot of like generic settings, but there always have been, in my opinion, a lot of generic fantasy settings and stuff like that in games throughout its history.
Yeah. But like a self-contained setting though.
It does help. So like when it's like the setting you're in is like a character of the story almost.
Yeah, like Arkham Asylum is one.
Yeah, Arkham Asylum is a great example of that. Yeah,
Arkham Asylum is one that I can think of off the top of my head, but that's fairly old too, and that's well within this era of games that he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of something recently, but I feel like there isn't. So many fucking games are so big. That's why, you know.
Yeah.
Tsushima is like Tsushima and Ghost.
Yeah, they're all huge.
Is like, how about fucking half of England or whatever, you know?
Yeah, it is, you're probably right, Gene. It's probably a function of the open world design taking over most of the game space.
Mm-hmm.
Or
even Arkham, you know, Arkham Asylum was interesting, and then it's like Arkham City, and then Arkham Origins, and then Arkham Knight, and then Arkham Galaxy, you know.
We're lucky they didn't make an Arkham World.
Arkham World, yeah, exactly. You know, just go all over the world. You know, Batman Flight Simulator.
Yeah.
Fuck. What other games do I feel? Yeah, I feel like games are just too big now. You know, like again, like Elden Ring. Like when I think about Dark Souls, I think my Sans Fortress. You know, or I'm already forgetting the Anno Londo. You know, Anno Londo is iconic, but again, that also takes place around the same time as the era this guy is talking about too. You know, Anno Londo was so iconic that they keep referencing it. You know, over and over again.
Yeah, because like that's when the Souls franchise was kind of born, or a lot of it, the modern stuff. So it was a lot of people's first one, so it made a big impact on a lot of people back then too.
Mm-hmm.
I think of like Cainhurst Castle from Bloodborne is like one of my favorite locations ever in a game.
I love Cainhurst Castle, but I actually don't remember too much of it though.
Oh, I have it like mapped out in my brain. Right
Yharnam, I remember for sure. You know, but I played so much of that. Cainhurst Castle, I didn't run so much. Often. What else? So yeah, definitely the Souls games are for sure like up there, like all of them, right? They all have great locations, but like it's probably why the Souls games are so special, you know? It's because well, I mean, it's definitely why, you know, it's not the combat, it's because the environment and the level design that just keeps us coming back, you know, Bloodborne's environments. You know, and again, like the Lands Between has so many cool areas too. You know, Caelid is a memorable example.
Yeah,
seared
super
into your
memorable.
memory. You know, seared into your memory. Once you go to Caelid, you'll never forget it. You know.
Yep.
But Souls games are easy to answer. You know, and God, I'm kind of struggling to think of a game right now. Alan Wake's Bright Falls is pretty interesting. You know.
Sure. Yeah.
Bright Falls is a good call.
Right,
and the Dark Place itself.
Yeah, but Alan Wake 2 turned Bright Falls into a little bit of a self-contained area too. I kind of want to play that game now. It's coming to think of it, you know, that was so fun to like walk around like the lake, and then you drive over to the hotel and everything like that. And then
we should always be playing Alan Wake at all times. I agree. Yeah. The only other one I could think of was, as I mentioned earlier in this show, Lost Crown has its time travel spirit mountain. Which I always pronounce wrong, but I think it's like Mount Koth.
Yeah, and I think a lot of these games, Bleach on the Rocks is kind of listing here like some of the best games of that entire generation. So they've had time to kind of like settle into people's minds, I think.
True.
I'm not disagreeing with him at all that these environments aren't extremely good and very memorable and some of the best around. I agree.
Yeah.
But I just think there's a lot of good stuff there too if you take a look at a lot of it. Lots of good stuff.
Yeah, I do think Silksong is not one of these. That's where I'm at. Farloom is a great setting. Terrible name for a setting. I hate fucking.
Oh, I really like that name. I like Farloom as a concept for a silk-based game. And
yes,
then I also like.
I do get.
And I also like the PH in exchange for the F. I'm like, I love that. Good job.
All right, boys, that's it. Another episode in the books. Hoeg, Gene, thank you both for joining me.
Love it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, before we go, anything you guys want to say or plug or anything like that, or should we just get out of here?
I got nothing to plug, Brad.
Okay.
I have not been making content for my channel for a couple weeks now. I apologize to the people that stick with me, but it's been a busy time offline, and so I'll get back to it at some point in the future, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Gene, anything from you coming up?
Yes. Part of the reason why I was late today was because, one, I was up late playing Silksong, but the reason why I was up so late playing Silksong was because I actually worked a ton yesterday. I actually just finished what I think is the longest article I've ever written. And it is an interview with an extremely notable game director. If you can guess who that is, you're probably right. And if you've been waiting for a conversation between me and that game director for a long time now, so have I, and it finally happened. And that will publish soon.
Cool. Very nice.
It is your favorite game director and mine as well.
Oh.
You can probably guess who it is.
Wow.
You're doing a good job avoiding NDAs there, Gene.
It's that guy. There's no NDA. I'm just being a tease. I could easily say who it is right now, but I'm just building up hype.
Well, either way, I'm giving credit for that. That was a lot of sentences avoiding what it was. So good job.
I'm showing a little leg, but this is good. This is going to be the interview that we've all been waiting for, including myself.
Okay.
So, but it is the longest fucking article I've ever written. When I finish it, I was like, wow, I did not know it was going to be that long, but. So that's why, and I don't usually fight for long articles. I love being edited. I love being edited. You know, that's another thing that, I think games journalists, struggle with is that, they hate being edited. How dare you take my voice away? I'm like, no, I love that shit. Fucking fix that shit for me completely. You know, I don't complain at all. But in this case, though, I have to fight for the length. I was like, I want you to keep every single quote in there. I want every single word in there. Cut my words out, you know. Yeah. But I do want every quote that he says in there. So I'm excited to finally get this out. So
nice.
Working on this one for a long time.
Cool. All right. So look forward to Gene's review of Leslie Bensley coming out very soon. It's gonna be a good one.
And I'll be reviewing Silksong. That'll be my next review for sure. So
yep. Cool. All right, everybody. We're out of here. We'll see you next week. Take care and goodbye. Summon Sign is a product of Last Stand Media and Collins Last Stand LLC and is proudly recorded in the USA. The show is written and hosted by me, Brad Ellis. The show is produced by Dustin Furman. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. Summon Sign, along with the rest of Last Stand's media shows, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer level on Patreon, our highest tier, and we are grateful for your kind contribution and generosity to our independent endeavor. Thank you.